Chapter 60. As the alloy chiseled, the outer layer of stone peeled off layer by layer. Gradually, a dark color appeared in front of Lin Zhen's eyes. Sun Mother Stone. It's actually a Sun Mother Stone. Even though Lin Zhen was well informed, he couldn't help but be excited at this moment. The so-called Sun Mother Stone was a stone that contained two pieces of dark energy stone, one big and one small. It was called a Sun Mother Stone. This kind of stone was very rare. Compared to the Sun Stone, the energy in the Mother Stone was purer and much larger than the Sun Stone. According to the size of the stone just now, compared with the exposed part, there was no doubt that the one just now was the Sun Stone, and this one was the Mother Stone. Lin Zhen carefully spent about 3 hours to make this Mother Stone reveal its true appearance. If the previous one was the size of a goose egg, then this one was nearly the size of a small rubber ball. It was 7 or 8 times larger than the previous one. Wow, the rumors are true. The power contained in this stone is more than 800 kilograms, even if it is not 1,000 kilograms. Such a large dark energy stone has never appeared on Earth. Even in the interstellar, only a few legendary stones can be compared to this one. This is too rare. With this stone, after I advance to Warlord, my strength will definitely change dramatically. However, Lin Zhen did not immediately absorb this dark energy stone. After absorbing this stone, he would need to prepare the energy sensing auxiliary potion. Lin Zhen's energy sensing auxiliary potion was also going to be custom-made, but he did not have it yet. After putting the dark energy stone into his bag, Lin Zhen was satisfied. Although I haven't been in Yilan County for a long time, the harvest is too great. Although there are still many monsters here, I don't need to continue to stay here. The safest thing to do is to take the dark energy stone back as soon as possible. Looking at the sky outside, it was actually a little bright. It took a night to get this dark energy stone. Lin Zhen slept for a while and meditated for a while. When the sky was bright and he opened his eyes, he felt that his body and spirit had recovered to the best state. He cleaned up all the gravel of the dark energy stone and left the community. After coming out, Lin Zhen moved forward carefully. Because he was a spirit reader master and could fly, he could easily avoid some dangerous areas. As long as he didn't fly too high and violate the mutated bird's territory, there wouldn't be any danger. When they arrived at the edge of Yilan County, Lin Zhen found that the situation was a little different. At the edge of Yilan County, there was a military checkpoint at the head of the Blue River Bridge. This was the only way to get in and out of Yilan County. If they wanted to go back to the base city, they had to take this bridge. Otherwise, they would have to take a detour of thousands of miles. They might even reach the border of Russia. Lin Zhen even saw Bai Feng. He was also in the crowd with another military war god. They were inspecting all the people entering and exiting Yilan. As expected, the power of a war god is not ordinary. They can actually ask the army to help them set up checkpoints. This way, no matter who obtains the dark energy stone, they will have to face their inspection. It's very simple if I want to go back to the base city. I just need to take a detour and then fly directly over the Blue River. But in that case, there is no way to explain how I get back. I can imagine that they will definitely investigate everyone who stays in Yilan County. As long as there is any suspicious point, they will become the target of suspicion. At that time, the secret of the dark energy stone will be exposed. Lin Zhen thought for a while and decided to continue staying in Yilan County. The county was very dangerous. The army couldn't enter the county to search. Even if Bai Feng had the power, it was impossible for the army to be stationed here for a long time. After a while, they would naturally leave. Now his strength was still weak. He couldn't have a conflict with these war gods. At most, he would break through to the war god realm a little later. During this time, he could train in Yilan County for a period of time, collect more monster crystals, and make more money. And a little more time buffer could also explain why he was promoted to a level 9 warrior so quickly. Otherwise, it would be suspicious if he was promoted from the early stage of level 8 to the peak of level 9 in a few days. Without looking at the army again, Lin Jun turned and returned to Ilan County. After returning to the county, Lin Jun once again found a place to stay. It was on the top floor of a shopping mall in Ilan County. From there, he could see the situation of the entire county. Only Lin Jun could go in and out because he flew directly from the window on the top floor. Every day after that, Lin Jun hunted monsters nearby. With the completion of the brown bear's evolution, the number of monsters in Ilan County had increased. Every day, many monsters came from the Little Xing Anling area, densely filling the county. It was simply impossible to kill them all. Lin Jun now possessed gold-level psychic power. His rainstorm spear technique had also reached the peak of a level 9 warrior. His strength was comparable to an intermediate warlord. As long as he did not actively seek death by provoking the 2 brown bears or challenging a large group of B-class mutated beasts, he would not be in any danger. Furthermore, ordinary dangers would not be able to stop Lin Jun. He could fly away. Every day, Lin Jun observed the situation from the top of a tall building. He could directly fly to the place where there were level C mutant beasts or level B mutant beasts and directly kill them without having to go through the overlapping low-level mutant beasts. In this way, his hunting efficiency skyrocketed. Every day, he had a large number of crystals. This was the advantage of a spirit reader master. On the first day, Lin Jun harvested 11 level C mutant beast nuclei and 1 level B mutant beast nuclei. On the third day, Lin Jun had obtained 45 mutant beast nuclei, 5 of which were level B. On the seventh day, Lin Jun had obtained 120 crystals, 16 of which were level B. Half a month later, Lin Jun had obtained 300 crystals, 40 of which were level B. During this time, Lin Jun had also stabilized his strength. His understanding of combat had further improved. He had begun to try to practice the 3rd level of 9-fold Spear River waterfall. Moreover, his spirit power had truly entered the early stage of gold. The proportion of golden aura in his mind had reached 10%. During the day, he hunted monsters. At night, Lin Jun would surf the internet when he had time. Nowadays, mobile phones could be charged with solar energy. The battery could be charged once a month, so there was no need to carry a charger. Lin Jun could pay attention to the situation in the base city at any time. He knew that a lot of things had happened in the base city during this time. First of all, the outstanding students of various martial arts schools had joined the martial arts teams. For example, Fu Qingya and Shintu Hua from Lifeng, Chen Jingqiu from Changfeng, Lei Ming from Dragon Slayer, and others had begun to stand out in the wilderness. There were also people like Meng Dong and Ouyang Yu who had entered the wilderness and tried to fight monsters. Half a month ago, the Ilan tragedy, yes, a tragedy, had led to the destruction of many martial arts teams. For example, Devil God. Only Li Mengxi and Roro had returned to the base city. For example, among the demon hunters, only Zhao Liang and Gao Yin had returned to the base city. Of course, Lin Jun could not go back for the time being. Shi Lei and Yi Tianqing were nowhere to be found. Lin Jun had not spoken to them. On the contrary, Zhao Liang had spoken to them once 10 days ago. After that, they could not be contacted. Old Hu from Lifeng had left the martial arts school. He had formed a team with Li Tianhao and 3 other advanced warlords called Heroes in Troubled Times. The strength of this team was very strong. There were 3 advanced warlords. Old Hu was an intermediate warlord, and Li Tianhao had now advanced to a level 8 warrior. They were among the best in the warlord level team. However, people with discerning eyes could tell that these advanced warlords were bodyguards that Li Tianhao's parents had assigned to him. They were to protect this young master's safe and smooth growth and not let him be in any danger. Nowadays, there were rumors about all the teams in the base city. The most popular one was that the former genius Lin Jun had fallen in Ilan and would never come back. Chapter 61. Lin Jun looked at the review post and closed it with a smile. Lin Jun didn't care about this kind of boring thing. He habitually looked in the direction of the Blue River Bridge, only to discover that the army stationed there had retreated. This was normal. The army couldn't possibly stay here for a long time. That would definitely arouse the dissatisfaction of some big shot. Retreating was only a matter of time. However, Lin Jun was still quite happy. He could finally return to the base. Just as he was about to leave the top floor of the shopping mall, Lin Jun suddenly saw 3 people running down the street from a distance. If it were other people, Lin Jun wouldn't have spared them a glance. However, he recognized 2 of the 3 people. They were his teammates, Shirley and Yi Tianqing. In addition to the 2 of them, there was also a man with a full beard. He held a long sword in his hand and ran at the front. Behind the man with a full beard, Shirley and Yi Tianqing were in an incomparably sorry state. Shirley's long sword was broken, while Yi Tianqing only had one of his 2 swords left. They were running madly while panting for breath. Behind them, a group of ape-type monsters were in hot pursuit. This group of monkeys were all golden monkeys. After mutating, they were even stronger than the silverback gorillas of the Christian calendar. Each of them was at least a C rank, and the leader of the group was a B rank monkey king. These monkeys were running down the street. They could easily jump over abandoned buses, grab electric cables and wander around, or jump from the rooftops of roadside buildings. The 3 of them were faintly enveloped in the sky and on the ground. From the looks of it, they had no chance of escaping. "Captain, I can't run anymore. I can't run anymore. Let's fight these monkeys to the death." Yi Tianqing was running to his limit. "No. Hold on a little longer. There's a small lake in front that leads to the Blue River. We'll run there and enter the water. That's our only chance." "Captain, I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on until we reach the lake. You run on your own. Remember to take care of my family." Shirley did not say a word. He pulled Yi Tianqing and continued to run forward. It was obvious that he did not want to leave him behind. The man in front of them turned around to look at the 2 of them before running away with his head lowered. This person was a 7th grade warlord, almost at the peak of the intermediate grade. His speed was even faster than Shirley's. If this continued, he might be the one to escape. On the rooftop, Lin Jun sighed with emotion. Shirley was undoubtedly a good person, but if this continued, neither of them would be able to escape. If it was just Yi Tianqing alone, Lin Jun might not care, but he didn't want to see Shirley being eaten by these apes. Lin Jun took out a metal chain that he had collected over the past few days. This was what he used to deceive others. If someone asked him how he got to the top floor of the mall, he would say that he used this metal chain. "It's about time. It's time to go." Lin Jun grabbed the chain and jumped down from the window. While floating in the air, Lin Jun met with a monkey that was holding on to a cable in the air. Squeak, 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 squeak. The monkey waved its huge claws at Lin Jun. "Die for me." Lin Jun twisted in the air with the help of his mental power and dodged the monkey's claw. Then, he stabbed his spear and directly pierced the monkey's head, killing it on the spot. With a twist of the spear, the crystal in the monkey's head was taken out. With a flick of the spear, the crystal fell into Lin Jun's backpack. It was incomparably accurate. Obviously, it had been tempered thousands of times. In the beginning, Lin Jun still needed to use his mental power to practice this move. After these days of practice, he could easily take out the crystal with a single strike even without mental power. Shirley, Yi Tianqing, and the bearded man all saw the monkey's corpse falling down. Their eyes lit up. "Lin Jun, come and save us!" Yi Tianqing shouted. Lin Jun's body landed on the ground. He slammed the spear in his hand on the ground and bounced up again. He stabbed twice in the air and killed 2 more monkeys that pounced on him. Shwa shwa. With the 2 crystals in hand, Lin Jun threw the chain to the 3 people. "Quick! Climb along this chain to the top of the building. I'll block it." The bearded man was the fastest. He rushed over in a few steps and was the first to grab the chain and climb to the top of the building. Lin Jun didn't say anything. He held the spear in his hand and blocked the monkeys that were chasing him. At this time, almost everyone burst out with their maximum speed. Yi Tianqing, who was tired to death just now, actually ran in front of Shirley and was the second to climb up. Shirley also deliberately slowed down a little. He waited for Yi Tianqing to climb up and followed closely. Lin Jun waved his spear and fought. Usually, he still needed to go around looking for C and B-class mutated beasts. Here, a large group of monkeys took the initiative to come to him. It was a good opportunity to make a small fortune. After landing, the group of monkeys behind him rushed over. Lin Jun's spear trembled. Pa pa pa. A series of spear trembles and golden pheasants nods. Suddenly, a foul wind and a rain of blood was stirred up in the group of monkeys. Seeing the monkeys fall down one by one, Shirley, who was walking at the back, witnessed this scene and was incomparably shocked. Although these C-class mutated beasts weren't very strong, they were very fast. Fighting with them required excellent speed and nerve reaction. It wasn't easy for the few of them to deal with them. However, in front of Lin Jun, it was like killing chickens. In the blink of an eye, 6 or 7 of them were killed. This group of monkeys didn't even have 20, and a third of them were killed in an instant. The monkeys were originally very smart. After mutating, their intelligence was no less than a child's. They knew that they couldn't fight with force. They immediately retreated and were unwilling to fight with Lin Jun. Although humans were delicious, the human in front of them was obviously a hard bone to chew. The monkeys weren't stupid and wouldn't throw away their lives in vain. Seeing the huge Monkey King lead the group of monkeys to retreat, Lin Jun didn't continue to kill. Although that huge Monkey King was very valuable, Lin Jun didn't have absolute confidence that he could kill it in a large group of monkeys. Moreover, there was still Shirley and the others. Although Lin Jun lacked money, he also understood the principle of hiding his strength. Ignoring these monkeys, Lin Jun retreated a few steps and then ran faster. His spear propped up on the ground and his body leaped into the air, reaching the height of the 3rd floor. Grabbing the chain in the air, Lin Jun's speed was even faster than the monkeys. He quickly climbed to the top floor. Lin Jun climbed up and saw Shirley, Yi Tianqing, and the bearded man lying on the ground. Their chests were violently heaving up and down. Yi Tianqing saw Lin Jun come up and weakly waved his hand. Lin Jun, do you have food and water? I'm starving to death. Lin Jun rummaged through his backpack. He still had some dried meat and vitamin sugar pills, but the quantity was not much. He gave most of it to the 3 people. There was also some water, but it was obtained after the snow melted. This was the wilderness. It was good to have a drink. Martial artists didn't care about these small things. After rummaging through his backpack for a while, Lin Jun took out some water and dried meat. During this time, the 3 people stared at Lin Jun's backpack. The bearded man had a backpack, but there was nothing in it. Shirley's backpack had a hole, so it was estimated that it was empty. Obviously, there was not much loot. Yi Tianqing was even more miserable. Even his backpack was gone. It seemed that they didn't live a happy life in Elan County for half a month. Seeing Lin Jun's bulging backpack, although it was only opened a small gap, several people saw the flash inside. The bearded man's eyes lit up. Although it was only a glimpse, he had been outside for a long time. He naturally saw what was inside. Those flashing things were the crystals of mutated beasts, and there were a lot of them. Chapter 62. Lin Jun silently tidied up his backpack, then put it back on his back. He sat there and looked at the 3 people. The few of them wolfed down the food, and only then did they feel better. The bearded man stretched his arms. Damn it, we're finally alive. These damn monkeys, I'm going to skin them alive sooner or later and eat their juicy monkey brains. Shirley and Yi Tianqing also had expressions of joy after surviving a calamity. They originally thought that they were dead for sure, but they didn't expect to meet Lin Jun and be saved. The bearded man sighed with emotion and turned to Shirley. Captain Shir, who is this little brother? Aren't you going to introduce him? Let me get to know my savior. Shirley seemed to be in awe of the bearded man and hurriedly said, Brother Sue, this is Linjun. He's also a member of our demon hunter squad. When we were at the gymnasium, we got separated. I didn't expect to meet him here. After saying that, he turned to Linjun. Linjun, this is Brother Sue. His name is Su Mao, a level 7 warlord. He's an old acquaintance of Tianqing. If we didn't meet Brother Sue this time, we would have died several times in the city. Su Mao looked at Linjun, his eyes flashing. Linjun, I've heard of this name before. It seems that you're quite famous among the students. I often hear the new students of Chongfeng talking about you. Linjun smiled. Students are still students in the end. They can't be compared to veteran warlords like you. Su Mao nodded. As a student, you're not bad. You're actually able to survive here alone. That group of monkeys just now, if we were in good condition, we would have been able to take care of them. However, we've consumed too much energy, so we had no choice but to escape. However, you were able to hold off those monkeys by yourself. Just based on this point, your strength isn't inferior to an ordinary beginner warlord. Lin Jin could also see that these people were exhausted. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in such a sorry state after being chased by a group of monkeys. What happened to you? Lin Jin asked. Yi Tianqing was a little annoyed as he replied, It's all because of the giant paw bear. There are still 2 armored vehicles in the gymnasium. They were left behind by the previous team, and there are plenty of spoils of war inside. We originally wanted to drive one of the armored vehicles away, but we didn't expect to be chased by a giant paw bear and its minions for quite some distance. We're already very lucky to have survived. Lin Jin faintly smiled. These people were truly blinded by greed. The stadium had already become a restricted area. With an A-rank mutated beast there, even war gods wouldn't dare to provoke it. The few of them weren't enough. Su Mao stretched and said to Lin Jin, Do you still have anything to eat? My supplies are gone. Lin Jin shook his head. No, I also plan to leave Ilan today because I've used up all my food. Su Mao glanced at Lin Jin's backpack. Your backpack is so big. It's impossible to only have so little food. I just saw that you still have some vitamin sugar pills and water. Take them out. After I'm full, I can naturally take you out of the county. Otherwise, with the density of monsters here, you may not be able to get out. Lin Jin didn't speak. Although he had shown a certain strength when he killed the monkeys, it wasn't enough to let him leave safely. Moreover, he also wanted to see what kind of attitude Shirley and Yi Tianqing had, so he didn't speak. Shirley and Yi Tianqing glanced at each other. Yi Tianqing was the first to speak. Lin Jin, if you have something to eat, take it out. We've lost everything. If we don't eat, how can we leave Ilan? I don't have to eat, but give more to Brother Sue. Shirley was silent for a moment. He looked at Lin Jin and didn't say anything in the end. Lin Jin smiled. But I really don't have anything. There is still some food left for myself. Your share has just been finished. Su Mao's eyes narrowed slightly. Then what's in your backpack? I don't have the obligation to explain. Lin Jin smiled and leaned back, with a look that said, What can you do about it? Seeing Lin Jin's attitude, Su Mao coldly snorted and said to Shirley, Captain Shir, we were originally working together temporarily, but I, Su Mao, am an honest person. But your team members don't seem to be very cooperative? Do you think that you can leave Ilan smoothly with the strength of the 3 of you who are at most 3rd-level warlords? Do you still want to get the armored vehicles? Can these things be successful without cooperation? You're all so reluctant to get some food. I think this cooperation is over. After that, Su Mao stood up and was about to leave alone. Lin Jin didn't move. He had experienced too many things. He could see at a glance that Su Mao was putting on an act. At this time, even if he was driven away, he wouldn't leave. However, Shirley and Yi Tianqing couldn't sit still. Shirley hurriedly got up and pulled Su Mao. Brother Su, calm down. If you leave, I'm afraid the three of us won't be able to leave. Let me persuade Lin Jun. Persuade what? You're the captain. What do you need to persuade? Just give the order directly. I'm telling you, Shirley. If you want me to protect you and leave, you have to pay me. Otherwise, don't expect me to work for you for free. There's no such thing as a free lunch in the world. Okay. It's what I should do. Wait. Before Shirley could come over to persuade him, Yi Tianqing had already attacked Lin Jun. Lin Jun, don't you have a sense of collective responsibility? Are you still a member of the Demon Hunter Squad? At this time, is money more important or your life more important? Hurry up and give something to Brother Su, whether it's food or property. Money can be earned again, but if you're gone, you'll have nothing. Shirley also came over and earnestly advised Lin Jun to look at the big picture. Lin Jun also hesitated for a moment. With his strength, of course, he could come and go as he pleased because spirit readers had the ability to fly. No matter how dangerous Elon was, as long as the sky wasn't full of mutated birds, he wouldn't care. However, he didn't have a way to safely leave with Shirley and Yi Tianqing. At least, he didn't have full confidence. If Su Mao was really willing to help, this matter might still be successful. It wasn't that Lin Jun didn't consider abandoning Shirley and Yi Tianqing and leaving by himself. However, if this matter were to spread out, it would undoubtedly damage his reputation. The dojo didn't allow for the abandonment of teammates. It would be very disadvantageous in the long run. Lin Jun had thought about going all the way and making a move in the dark, but he didn't think he had reached that stage yet. Thinking about the pros and cons of karma, Lin Jun first said to Shirley and Yi Tianqing, "Do you all agree to let him protect you?" Shirley and Yi Tianqing nodded. Although Lin Jun seemed to be quite powerful, no one would think that Lin Jun could reach Su Mao's level. Seeing the attitude of the two, Lin Jun stood up and said to Su Mao, "There's really nothing to eat. If you want money, just say a number. However, if you want to ask for too much, it's impossible. We're not spendthrift." Su Mao rolled his eyes and said loudly, 100 million. 100 million and I'll protect you from Elon County. Even if there's danger, I'll block it for you and guarantee it with my life. Just now, he glanced at Lin Jun's backpack and saw a flash inside. He was sure that it was a mutant beast's crystal, but he didn't know how much it was. Because there were other things in Lin Jun's backpack, such as bezoar, snake gall, and so on. These things piled up together and covered most of the crystals, so what Su Mao saw was only the tip of the iceberg. Even so, Su Mao still asked for too much. In his opinion, Lin Jun could at most take out 100 million worth of wealth. It was impossible to squeeze more out of him. Lin Jun sneered, "You really dare to ask for a price? However, 100 million is impossible. And how can I guarantee that you won't renege on your debt after I transfer 100 million to you? I don't have that much cash. If you agree, I'll give you 50 million worth of goods. If not, we'll go our separate ways." "No, it must be 100 million, or I won't agree." Su Mao was also very stubborn. If I remember correctly, when I threw down the iron chain, you were the first to climb up. This kind of behavior makes it hard to believe that you would protect your teammates at a critical moment. Giving you 50 million is already a lot. That's because you didn't pay me just now. I have no obligation to protect you. Su Mao was still stubborn. You ate my food just now. I don't have any obligation to feed you, do I? Food is precious in the wastelands, and I saved your life. Let's settle that first. Shirley and Yi Tian looked at Su Mao nervously. They felt that Lin Jun's tone was too stiff. If he offended Su Mao and got up and left, they would be in danger. Su Mao stared at Lin Jun fiercely as if he wanted to eat him. Lin Jun also looked at Su Mao expressionlessly, not backing down. The tense atmosphere lasted for about a minute. Su Mao suddenly said, "Deal. Now give me the goods." Chapter 63. Lin Jun glanced at Su Mao and turned his body slightly so that no one could see into his backpack. Then, he took out a few items. Rank C mutant beast crystals, 5 million each. These 10 crystals are worth 50 million. Take them. Lin Jun handed the items to Su Mao and immediately closed his backpack. Then, he said to Shirley and Yi Tianqing, "Captain Yi Tianqing, I remember that I said we were going to act alone. I didn't take the initiative to go with you guys. Now, this money shouldn't be paid by me. Each of you should transfer 25 million to me." Lin Jun didn't hold back at all. Since Shirley and Yi Tianqing chose to believe Su Mao, then they had to be responsible for their own actions. Lin Jun definitely wouldn't pay for them. Shirley didn't say anything. He didn't think there was anything wrong with it. He immediately transferred 25 million to Lin Jun. Yi Tianqing was a little reluctant. He muttered, "So you want me to pay? Then why did you hesitate for so long?" Lin Jun sneered, "If you don't believe me, you can go and take back 5 of my crystals. Then, you can go and talk to Su Mao alone. I have no objections." Yi Tianqing really didn't dare. Although he didn't like Lin Jun was at least trustworthy. Su Mao wasn't one of Lai Feng's people. He didn't dare to take the risk. After transferring 25 million to Lin Jun looked at his phone. All 50 million had been transferred to his account. "Okay, now Su Mao is your employer. I didn't pay. You can go with him." Shirley was stunned. "You're not going with us?" "Of course. I didn't pay. How can I ask him to protect me?" Lin Jun smiled. Shirley shook his head. "That won't do. As the captain, I can't watch you go alone in a dangerous place. You should come with us." Although he said that, Shirley looked at Su Mao. Obviously, he was still asking for Su Mao's opinion. Su Mao held 10 mutant beast crystals in his hand, but he was thinking about Lin Jun. There must be a lot of good things in that big backpack. If Lin Jun left, he wouldn't have a chance to get them. He nodded reservedly. "Although I only took 50 million from you, as a high-level warlord, I can't watch you be in danger. Come with me now." We drove an armored car. "As long as we get back to the car and don't pass through the stadium, I can take you away safely." Lin Jun looked at Su Mao and knew what he was thinking. However, Lin Jun still decided to make this trip. Su Mao and the others had consumed a lot of energy. They rested on the rooftop for about 2 hours before moving out. During this time, Lin Jun found that Yi Tianqing and Su Mao were very close, even more than Shirley. Although Su Mao was now the main force, Lin Jun was very uncomfortable with this kind of behavior. During this period of time, the two of them even went out alone for a long distance using the excuse of going to the toilet. They only returned after a long while. When Lin Jun returned, she noticed that Yi Tianqing's expression was rather unpleasant and his gaze was somewhat evasive. Lin Jun sneered and didn't say anything. Yi Tianqing could no longer be trusted. 2 hours later, they packed up and were ready to go. Su Mao was in front, Yi Tianqing followed closely, followed by Shirley and finally Lin Jun. They left the top floor of the shopping mall. Nowadays, the streets and alleys of Elan County were full of mutant beasts. Su Mao developed a relatively safe route. He opened the way in front and went straight to the place where the armored vehicle was parked. During this time, Su Mao also showed his strength as a high-level warlord. When he encountered a mutant beast below the B class, he basically killed it with one slash. The sharpness of his slash made Lin Jun secretly admire him. Even if he had advanced to the golden stage of a spirit reader master, he was still lacking if he wanted to fight with a high-level warlord. After all, there was a big gap there, and this gap was not so easy to cross. If it weren't for the encounter with the giant palm bear, which consumed too much of his energy, Su Mao wouldn't have been afraid of those monkeys at all. Along the way, Su Mao was extremely brave. Shirley and Yi Tianqing also helped to fight. After advancing for about an hour, they finally saw the armored vehicle in front of them. The car was parked in front of a ruin. There was a huge dent in the front of the car and there were bloodstains on it. Lin Jun even recognized that this was the armored vehicle driven by the Devil God Squad. The Devil God Squad was almost wiped out, and the car full of trophies had now become ownerless. He didn't expect Su Mao and the others to be able to drive this car out of the stadium. Well, let's get in the car. I told you I could bring you out safely. Su Mao stopped, panting. The fighting along the way had indeed consumed a lot of his energy. Shirley and Yi Tianqing could help him share some of the pressure, but Lin Jun seemed to be enjoying the scenery along the way and didn't make a move at all. Fortunately, after they got in the car and left, Lin Jun couldn't be arrogant anymore. Tianqing, you drive. Just follow the route I told you, Su Mao ordered casually. Yi Tianqing glanced at Shirley and Shirley, then pursed his lips and got into the driver's seat. Shirley originally wanted Su Mao to sit in the front passenger seat, but Su Mao stopped him. Captain Shi, you can sit in the front passenger seat. I'll sit in the car with little brother Lin Jun. Shirley got into the front passenger seat, and Su Mao warmly invited Lin Jun into the armored vehicle. There was a metal door between the driver's cabin and the car that could be opened or closed. In order to make it more convenient to store the trophies in the car, Devil God's people sealed the metal door, and the car became a separate world. There were many spoils of war piled up inside. Lin Jun took a look and found that most of them were materials from mutated beasts. The lowest grade was a C-grade mutated beast. Although there were no crystals, the value of the goods in the carriage was more than 200 million. Lin Jun sat opposite Su Mao, leaning against a pile of mutated cow scales behind him. He stretched his body. I'm so tired. I can finally go home. Su Mao sneered and closed his eyes. The armored vehicle started and began to drive out of the city. The biggest advantage of the armored vehicle provided by the military was its defense. Except for the huge paw bear, which was an A-grade mutated beast with high attack power, few mutated beasts could break through the armored vehicle's defense. Along the way, they ignored the mutated beasts they encountered. The armored vehicle roared all the way out of the city. Their luck was not bad. The Blue River Bridge appeared in front of them, but they did not encounter any large mutated beasts. Although there were a few dangerous situations along the way, they relied on the armored vehicle's solid defense to rush through. Just as they were about to leave the city, Su Mao opened his eyes. Lin Jun, we are almost at the safe zone. I fought all the way to bring you out of the city. I got the armored vehicle. Shouldn't you pay for all this? Lin Jun also looked up at him. What do you want? You have two choices now. One is to drop the backpack and take the vehicle out of the city. The other is for me to snatch the backpack and throw you out. Su Mao's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at Lin Jun. Don't expect your teammates to do anything for you. Yi Tianqing has already completely locked the metal door over there. This is my only request for him. Your teammates actually agreed. So, you can't count on help at all. Su Mao was very proud. In this situation, he believed that victory was in his hands. Although Lin Jun was not bad, his little bit of combat power was nothing in the eyes of an advanced warlord. This kid had a lot of good things in his backpack. In addition to the mutant beast materials in the armored vehicle, this trip was a big gain. It seems that I have no choice. If I don't give you the backpack, you will snatch it yourself. In that case, I'd better take the initiative, Lin Jun said helplessly. He first put aside the black dragon spear in his hand, and then began to take off his backpack. At least you know what's good for you. Lin Jun, you can be dissatisfied. I will be waiting for you at the Changfeng dojo. Haha, but the gap between you and me is too big. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to take revenge on me. Of course, a person should know what's good for them. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Lin Jun had already taken off his backpack and handed it to Su Mao. Su Mao reached out to take it with a smile on his face. As for whether Lin Jun was unhappy or not, it was not within his consideration at all. He was not a fool. The reason why he chose to have a showdown with Lin Jun in the vehicle was that the space here was narrow. It was not conducive for Lin Jun to use his spear. Therefore, he was even more unscrupulous. However, when he took the backpack with both hands and had no defensive ability, a sudden change occurred. Chapter 64. Su Mao never dreamed that Lin Jun would be so bold as to attack a high-level warlord like him. Moreover, once Lin Jun attacked, it was like a storm. The length of the Black Dragon spear was 2 meters, and the width of the armored vehicle was 5 meters. In addition, with 2 people sitting here and a lot of goods piled up, it could be said that Lin Jun had no room to attack. This was all part of Su Mao's plan. However, he neglected one point. Lin Jun's Black Dragon spear could be dismantled. When the front half was removed, it was 2 meters long. Lin Jun took advantage of the moment when Su Mao was grabbing the bag with both hands to throw the spear in his hand. Torrential rain. Countless cold stars flashed. An array of light enveloped Su Mao's body. Before the spear reached him, a cold metallic aura had already rushed towards him. You have big guts. Su Mao was scared out of his wits. The narrow space in the car made it impossible for him to dodge. He directly threw the bag in his hand at Lin Jun, hoping that Lin Jun would consider the things in the bag and slow down his attack. Lin Jun didn't stop at all. The Black Dragon spear instantly tore the bag apart. Countless mutated beast crystals exploded like sparks, and didn't stop the spear at all. Pu. Flowers of blood bloomed on Su Mao's body. Before he could scream, the spear tip had already reached his chest. At this moment, there were piles of goods on his left and right, and he had nowhere to dodge. Su Mao's condition wasn't good due to the excessive fighting from before. However, an advanced warlord was still an advanced warlord. At this critical moment, he grabbed the handrail on the roof of the carriage with both hands and leaped into the air. He stuck close to the roof and dodged Lin Jun's fatal shot. Su Mao was very confident. Although he was very tired and injured, as long as he dodged this spear, he could still easily kill Lin Jun. Clang! The Black Dragon spear stabbed into the wall of the car, and the spear shaft kept trembling. However, before his body landed, a few rays of light appeared in front of him. Flying daggers. Lin Jun's bright silver spiritual force drove 5 flying daggers. Dots of golden light flashed on the daggers, and they went straight for Su Mao's vital points. Ah! You're a spirit reader. At this moment, Su Mao truly felt the threat of death. Originally, in his opinion, no matter how much Lin Jun struggled, he was still a warrior after all. There was also an insurmountable natural gap between him and a high-level warlord like him. It was impossible for Lin Jun to defeat him. But a spirit reader is different. Spirit Reader Master is the most powerful martial artist, and there is no suspense in crushing other martial artists of the same level. It is also synonymous with leapfrogging. Moreover, this Lin Jun doesn't seem to be an ordinary Spirit Reader Master. That golden light made Su Mao's scalp numb. How could he be a gold-level Spirit Reader Master? However, there was no time for him to think. The 5 flying daggers were faster than bullets, and within 1,000th of a second, they had already hit Su Mao's body. The only thing he could do was to twist his body on the roof and rely on his good reflexes to avoid being hit in his vitals. However, the 5 flying daggers still penetrated his body. His hands, feet, and abdomen were all slashed. Blood gushed out from his body and limbs. Ayaya! Lin Jun, don't even think about killing me. Even if I have to risk my life, I'll take you down with me. Su Mao was on the defensive and was beaten continuously. After being severely injured by the 5 flying daggers, he knew that he had no chance of winning. He was already exhausted, and now he was seriously injured by a gold-level Spirit Reader Master's sneak attack. Surviving was already an extravagant hope. He hardened his heart and the energy in his dantian surged. He wanted to get close to Lin Jun. With his powerful strength as a level 7 warlord, As long as he could deal a heavy blow to Lin Jun, he would be able to take this little warrior's life. Even if he died, he would drag Lin Jun down with him. Completely disregarding his injuries, he fell from the air and pounced straight at Lin Jun. He didn't believe that Lin Jun had room to dodge in this narrow space. Lin Jun watched expressionlessly as Su Mao pounced from the roof. Unknowingly, the tip of his foot had already stepped on the end of the black dragon spear, causing the black dragon spear to bend in a wide arc. When Su Mao's body landed, Lin Jun suddenly lifted his foot. The bent spear tip suddenly bounced up and ruthlessly whipped towards Su Mao's lower abdomen. Su Mao, who had completely given up on defense, didn't expect Lin Jun to have such a strange move. He couldn't dodge in time and was ruthlessly whipped in his lower abdomen by the spear shaft. Something seemed to have shattered at this moment. Su Mao rolled his eyes and fell to the ground without even making a sound. He was a high-level warlord who had gone through countless bitter training. His whole body had hidden strength and his nerves were strong enough. Even after suffering such a huge blow, he still didn't faint. The pain that was enough to drive people crazy still didn't make him faint. He was still trying hard to recover. As long as Lin Jun didn't immediately take his life, as long as he had a chance to catch his breath, he still had a chance to turn the situation around. He believed that Lin Jun was just a soldier who hadn't gone through too many killings. At least, he hadn't killed too many people. He didn't believe that Lin Jun would kill a person who looked so miserable lying on the ground. However, Lin Jun didn't have the self-awareness of an ordinary soldier. After successfully whipping the spear shaft, Lin Jun immediately picked up the remaining half of the black dragon spear. There was also a not-so-sharp spear tip at the end of the spear. Lin Jun held it with both hands and ruthlessly stabbed it into the throat of the defenseless Su Mao on the ground. Puff! A column of blood directly hit the roof of the armored vehicle. The chi and blood of a high-level warlord was different from that of an ordinary person. The blood spurted out especially fiercely. So ruthless, so ruthless. Su Mao used the last of his strength to point at Lin Jun and said these words with his eyes wide open. Then, his head tilted to the side and he was completely dead. Lin Jun snorted coldly and kicked Su Mao's body to the side. Then, he put away the black dragon spear and found a huge cowhide in the car full of goods. He packed up the things in his backpack and put away the throwing knife. Then, he knocked on the metal door of the armored vehicle. In fact, the armored vehicle had just slowed down because the sound of fighting came from behind. Shirley definitely wanted to see the situation. The car stopped, and Lin Jun opened the door and got out. Yi Tiancheng and Shirley also rushed out eagerly. There was a fight behind them. Fighting in such a narrow space could lead to death. They all wanted to see the situation. Shirley's eyes were filled with surprise when he saw Lin Jun get out of the car. When Yi Tiancheng saw Lin Jun, his face was filled with disbelief, as if he had seen a ghost. Could it be that Su Mao couldn't deal with Lin Jun? That's impossible. Yi Tiancheng completely ignored Lin Jun and hurriedly ran to the back door of the car to check. He saw Su Mao covered in wounds and lying in a pool of blood. There was also a huge bloody hole in his neck. You actually killed Brother Su? What? Are you surprised? Lin Jun wiped the black dragon spear and looked coldly at Yi Tiancheng. How could you do that? Oh right, I think I heard Brother Su shouting just now. You're a spirit. Are you a spirit reader? It seems like you have some analytical ability, but that's not important. What do you mean? Yi Tiancheng's face changed. Lin Jun turned to Shirley and said, Captain, the metal door in the middle of the car is locked. This was done by Yi Tiancheng. You should know what this means, right? Shirley's face was very ugly, but he still nodded solemnly. Yi Tiancheng's actions made him feel a little disappointed. Lin Jun had just saved him. All right then. I'm going to do something next. I hope Captain won't stop me. Lin Jun looked at Shirley with shining eyes. Shirley wanted to dissuade him, but when he saw Lin Jun's gaze, he couldn't say anything. Yi Tianqing, who was at the side, felt goosebumps all over his body. Lin Jun was about to make a move. He wasn't the kind of person who would wait for death. When he heard this, he suddenly pulled out his two swords and attacked Lin Jun. He was going to give it his all. Lin Jun stood there motionless. The 5 flying daggers rose into the air, circled back and forth in the air, and then returned to his hand. Chapter 65. Lin Jun took back the throwing knives and threw Su Mao's body out of the car. Only then did he look at the stunned Shirley. Captain, I'm a spirit reader master, but I hope you can keep this a secret. Yi Tianqing and Su Mao plotted to kill me. You won't blame me for being ruthless, right? Shirley still found it hard to recover from the shock. Lin Jun could actually kill an advanced warlord and kill Yi Tianqing, a beginner warlord, in one move. He was actually a gold-level spirit reader master. The strength of a gold-level spirit reader master was actually so terrifying. Yi Tianqing died, and he died very miserably. Although Shirley thought that Lin Jun's methods were a little more intense, he couldn't find any fault with it. Shirley nodded silently. At this moment, he was a little depressed. Perhaps he was no longer suitable to continue mingling in the wilderness. Lin Jun's rise made him feel that it was time for him to quit. Shirley took the initiative to drive, and Lin Jun sat in the front passenger seat. The car finally drove across the Blue River Bridge. Behind them, a group of mutant beasts had surrounded the corpses of Su Mao and Yi Tianqing and were feasting on them. This was the fate of a warrior: either return home in glory or die without a burial place. After leaving Elon, the surrounding scenery gradually changed. The mutant beasts on the road were basically nowhere to be seen. After a moment of silence, Shirley said with some difficulty, Lin Jun, can you give me some of the goods in this car? I only want 1/3, no, 1/5 is fine. Why? Lin Jun glanced at Shirley. Shirley was a little embarrassed. Since Lin Jun showed his strength, Shirley knew that the status of the two people had changed. Although he was still the captain in name, Yi Tianqing, the only one who supported him, was dead. The remaining Gao Yan and Zhao Liang were probably still supporting Lin Jun. If they had known about Lin Jun's telekinesis, they would have immediately cast him aside as their captain. He no longer had any status in the Demon Hunter squad. However, during this hunting trip, he had left his backpack in the wilderness and had gained almost nothing. At this time, he already had thoughts of retiring. However, it wasn't easy for a martial artist to retire. First of all, one had to have enough money for retirement. He calculated the value of the goods in the truck. It was at least 300 million. If he got 1/5 of it, it would be 60 million. Adding the money he won from the bet and some of his own savings, it would be more than 100 million. His retirement could be considered a guarantee for his livelihood. She thought that since she had spoken, Lin Jun would give her some face. She didn't expect that Lin Jun would directly ask her why. Shirley swallowed. I know my request is a little high, but Lin Jun, I have a wife and children at home. I don't want to continue hunting in the wilderness. The Demon God Squad is also disbanded. I just want to stay in the base city safely. I need some money. If you think it's too much, I can accept 1/10 of it. Looking at Lin Jun's sparkling eyes, Shirley hurriedly raised his hand. I promise that I won't reveal the fact that you are a telekinesis master to anyone else, no matter what. Looking at the anxious Shirley, Lin Jun smiled. He didn't immediately answer his question. Instead, he pointed ahead. Look, we've arrived at the military supply base. Our car is still parked there, right? Well, yes, I received a call from Zhao Liang. He drove away all the cars there. Only your car is still there. He also returned the armored car. This armored car doesn't need to be returned to the military now. Of course, we can sell it to them at a cheaper price. Then, Captain, you can stop here for me. I'll go get my car and drive back to the base city. I've been in Elon City for almost a month. Sitting in the armored car is uncomfortable. It's time for me to enjoy it. Well, okay. Shirley hurriedly agreed. The car sped up a little and drove to the supply station. Lin Jun opened the door and was about to get out of the car. Shirley hurriedly called out, Lin Jun, where do you think we should sell this truck of goods? You decide, I'll sell it. When it's sold, I'll transfer the payment to your card. Lin Jun looked back at Shirley. Captain, are you confused? You drove this car from Elon County. The goods are naturally sold wherever you want. You don't have to ask for my opinion. But the payment for the goods, Lin Jun waved his hand. The payment for the goods is your own. It has nothing to do with me. If you think you've earned too much, I don't mind you giving me a little bonus. But let me say it in advance, I won't accept your favor. Hearing Lin Jun's words, Shirley opened his mouth and didn't say anything for a long time. In the end, he could only say in a low voice from his throat, Thank you, brother. I was a little confused before. If there's anything wrong with you, brother, please don't mind it. Since you're so generous, I'll be cheeky. We'll split the payment. You're welcome to come to my house to drink at any time in the future. Lin Jun smiled. Well, let's do as you say. Let's go. I wish you and sister-in-law a happy life. After that, Lin Jun walked into the supply station and went to get his car. The cars here were parked underground. After Lin Jun arrived, he quickly took out his Raptor off-road. Sitting in the car, Lin Jun patted the backpack behind him. He was in a good mood. There were 300 C-class mutated beast crystals and 40 B-class mutated beast crystals in his backpack. The value of these crystals was far beyond the goods. This didn't include the dark energy stone. In Lin Jun's view, the value of the dark energy stone couldn't be measured with money because it represented the future of a warrior. Even without the dark energy stone, the value of the crystals and some other materials was enough for Lin Jun to use for a period of time. This was very beneficial for the development of his future plans. Because of this wealth, he didn't care about the 300 million worth of goods in the armored car. He generously gave Shirley some benefits. This way, not only could he completely shut his mouth, even if something happened in the future, Shirley would definitely speak up for him in the dojo. Lin Jun didn't want to kill Shirley, and it was impossible for him to do so. After all, Shirley was a good person. If this matter was leaked, the drawbacks would be too great. Moreover, Shirley wasn't a greedy person. He only kept half of the payment, which made Lin Jun feel very satisfied. Accelerating, the Raptor off-road quickly drove in the direction of Peony City. Soon, Lin Jun overtook Shirley's armored car. He gave the other party a honk and sped away. Shirley also honked back. When the car reached Peony City, Lin Jun didn't stop at all and directly drove through the city. On the way to Ice City, Lin Jun's phone suddenly rang. He picked it up. It was a call from Zhao Liang. Hello, brother Zhao. Hello, Lin Jun. Just now, the military supply station called me and said that your car was taken away. I couldn't believe it at that time. I didn't expect you to really come back. Why didn't you contact me immediately? I also just came out of the county. I wanted to tell you when I got home. During this period of time, Lin Jun and Zhao Liang were still in contact. Elon wasn't far from Ice City, so there was still a mobile phone signal. However, Lin Jun didn't contact Zhao Liang often. A martial artist had to be focused as much as possible. Therefore, Zhao Liang knew that Lin Jun was still alive. It was just that he hadn't received a call from Lin Jun for a few days, so he was a little worried. Now that he heard that Lin Jun had come out, he was naturally happy. Lin Jun, go back and pack up. If you have time, come to the dojo. There's something I want to talk to you about. What's the matter? Lin Jun asked. Azure Sky Dojo ignored the unspoken rules between martial artists and took the initiative to recruit Russian disciples. Among them, there are a few level 9 fighters who are very good. These days, they have been challenging dojos everywhere. Our dojo also received a letter of challenge. The dojo master has come back and announced in public that the person who defeats Azure Sky will be heavily rewarded. You can choose 3 rewards for free in the dojo store. Now, the fighters in the dojo are rubbing their hands and preparing to teach Azure Sky a lesson. However, I think you have the best chance of winning, Zhao Liang said in a relaxed tone, as if he didn't put Azure Sky in his eyes. When Lin Jun heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up. Chapter 66. After hanging up the call with Zhao Liang, Lin Jun was excited. The Azure Sky Martial Arts Club was where Lin Jun had stayed in his previous life. Something had happened during this time. The Azure Sky Martial Arts Club had recruited several Russian warriors. Among them, there were 3 warriors who were particularly strong. They had challenged almost all the warriors in Bingqing Bay City. There were many Russians living in the Bingqing area. After the divine change, the Russians even occupied an entire street in Bingqing. The Russians were born tall and strong. They were known as the Fighting Nation. It could be said that their fighting talent was much higher than that of the Huaxia people. However, the Russians also had a huge flaw. They were a little slow to sense qi and had a lower chance of becoming a warlord. In addition, the Huaxia people were still wary of the Russians because they were not of the same race. Therefore, over the years, very few Russians in Bingqing joined the Huaxia martial arts clubs, and there were not many fighters above the warlord level. But now, the Azure Sky Martial Arts Club had broken this rule and recruited a few talented Russian fighters. They had been secretly training them for a period of time, intending to make the Azure Sky Martial Arts Club rise in Bingqing. Lin Jun even knew those Russians in his previous life. However, at that time, Lin Jun was not in their eyes at all. What really moved Lin Jun was that he knew that in the later stages of the battle, in order to deal with those Russians and save the face of the Huaxia people, all the major martial arts clubs, including the base city, had issued a reward. Any fighter who could defeat the Russians would be heavily rewarded. Lin Jun was most interested in the reward offered by the base city. Permission to trade meteorites. This was the reward offered by the base city in the end. The Huaxia people had always been concerned about their reputation and would often make major concessions in order to save face. Lin Jun still remembered that this reward was offered by a fighter from the Changfeng Martial Arts Club. That person was called Qin Jingqiu. He was also the one who defeated the Russians and obtained the permission to trade meteorite. After Qin Jingqiu received the guarantee from the base city, he took the initiative to challenge the Azure Sky Dojo. Not only did he defeat the Russians on the spot, he even kicked Lin Jun, who was just standing by. Although Qin Jingqiu had done that to establish his might, that kick had damaged Lin Jun's dantian, directly making it difficult for him to advance. If Ouyang Yu and the others were the first to cause Lin Jun a setback, then Qin Jingqiu was the second to cause Lin Jun a setback. Moreover, it was an undeserved calamity. On the other hand, Qin Jingqiu became the #1 person of the new generation in Bingqing. After obtaining permission to trade meteorites, he soared to the heavens and his strength increased by leaps and bounds. Later on, he also gained a lot from the ancient god ruins and successfully became a warlord. During the interstellar migration, Qin Jingqiu left Earth. Lin Jun didn't know what happened to him after that. In Bingqing, there were only a few people who could be considered Lin Jun's enemies. Ouyang Yu barely counted as one, Zhang Huai counted as another, and Qin Jingqiu counted as another. With his hands on the steering wheel, Lin Jun sneered. The towering walls of Bingqing appeared in front of him. Lin Jun drove directly into the city along the road. The car turned a corner. Lin Jun first rushed to an auction house in the city. He first had to sell the things in his hands and quickly convert them into cash to prepare for his next move. The auction house's name was very old-fashioned. It was called Huanyu, but it was the largest auction house in Huaxia. It was very famous in the 5 headquarter cities. It was said that the behind-the-scenes boss strength was unfathomable. Not only did the auction house often sell good things, but it also bought all kinds of materials. The price was slightly higher than the price of the headquarter city's Ministry of Science and Technology and the dojo. The receptionist had delicate features. She took the initiative to greet him. "Hello, sir, welcome to Huanyu. May I ask if you want to sell or buy? I have some mutated beast crystals and materials that I want to sell to you." "Yes, sir. May I ask what is the highest grade of mutated beast material you have?" "Most are grade C, the highest is grade B." "Yes, sir, please follow me." The receptionist twisted her waist and led Lin Jun to a counter. This was a place that specialized in buying mutated beast materials. There was also a beautiful receptionist at the counter. The receptionist took Lin Jun here and left. "Sir, please show me your crystals and materials. I will calculate the price for you on the spot." Lin Jun put the backpack on the counter. The huge backpack made the counter shake. The things inside the backpack fell out. Even the receptionist, who had seen a lot, couldn't help but be surprised. This young man looked like a warrior, but he took out too many things. Could it be that he was a representative of a team? It would be difficult for one person to obtain these goods in a short time. She counted them one by one. After about 20 minutes, the result came out. 300 grade C mutated beast crystals. If the headquarters city's Ministry of Science and Technology were to buy them, the price would be about 800,000 to 1,100,000. Huanyu's price is 1 million per crystal. We can give you a total of 300 million. Lin Jun nodded. This price was acceptable. The price of these grade B mutated beast crystals fluctuates slightly. There are 40 of them. According to the Ministry of Science and Technology's price, the total value is about 250 to 300 million. We can buy them for 280 million. As for these mutant beast materials, their complete condition is very rare. I have estimated that the total value is about 220 million. If you agree to sell all the materials to us, we can give you a total of 800 million. Lin Jun naturally knew the price of his goods. If he didn't rush to sell his backpack bit by bit, he could sell it for another 100 million. The total value was about 900 million. However, he didn't want to do that. Even if it was slightly cheaper, it would be good to sell it to Huanyu all at once. As far as I know, if the value of a transaction exceeds 500 million, you can get a VIP account of Huanyu. You can participate in Huanyu's auctions both in real life and online. That's right. There is such a rule. As a VIP of Huanyu, whenever we have an important auction, we will take the initiative to send you an email. You can come to the venue or participate in the auction online. In addition, you can also log into our Huanyu website. Many of the goods are consigned by private individuals. They can't be bought anywhere else. Then we'll sell them according to the price you mentioned. Help me get a VIP card. Lin Jun handed over his ID card. The reputation of this auction house was still worth guaranteeing. The sales lady moved quickly. As the largest auction house in China, she had served countless big customers. Her professionalism was still very commendable. However, during her actions, her eyes would fly to Lin Jun from time to time. Her face was flushed, and her eyes were flirtatious. The smell of seduction was very strong. Lin Jun was a young, handsome, and rich martial artist. He was the first standard for many girls to choose a partner. This kind of thing wasn't strange at all. However, Lin Jun kept a smile on his face throughout the entire process. He didn't say anything more to this lady. Her flirtatious eyes were for the blind. With the VIP card in hand, Lin Jun's account was transferred 800 million in cash. Adding the money in his previous card, Lin Jun now had close to 900 million in wealth. At this time, a text message rang again, indicating that Shirley had transferred 150 million to Lin Jun. 1 billion. Lin Jun had 1 billion in his hands. What could 1 billion do? The villa that Lin Jun was currently living in was worth around 100 million. The Raptor off-road vehicle he drove was worth around 5 million. A bottle of genetic potion that could change a person's fate was worth around 10 million. Of course, now that the price had risen, it was only worth 20 million. Shirley, Gao Yin, and the others had bitterly fought in the wilderness for so long. Each of them didn't have 1 billion in savings. This was the power of a spirit reader, especially in the golden stage. The ability to fly allowed Lin Jun to easily find valuable kills among the thousands of mutant beasts, greatly increasing his efficiency. He didn't have to advance bit by bit from the ground like an ordinary martial artist. His efficiency was surprisingly slow, and there was the danger of being bitten by the mutant beasts at any time. However, in Lin Jun's view, 900 million wasn't enough. The price of a small space ring was hundreds of millions. After entering the warlord stage, chi-sensing auxiliary potions were also a large sum of money. Of course, these weren't the most important. The most important thing was that if Lin Jun obtained the meteorite trading permit, he could trade with the Ministry of Science and Technology. At that time, it would be time to spend a lot of money. Chapter 67. If Lin Jun remembered correctly, this was the first day that spatial rings were on the market. Huanyu Auction House was already selling small spatial rings that were 3 cubic meters in size and sold for 200 million. Although it was only a small spatial ring, it was still much bigger than a backpack. Moreover, it was easy to carry around. After the first batch of buyers used it, it immediately set off a buying frenzy. Almost everyone with a bit of money bought one. However, a few days later, the price of the spatial rings increased. The second batch sold for 500 million. Moreover, this kind of thing was not easy to hoard. Every martial artist was limited to one. Lin Jun had to buy one now. The sales lady took out a spatial ring for Lin Jun. It was a silver ring with a black stone embedded in it. That was the dark sky stone, a type of meteorite. After paying 200 million, Lin Jun put the spatial ring on his finger. Opening the spatial ring only required one to concentrate their mental power. Martial artists more or less had some mental power, and everyone could use it. In the blink of an eye, the 1 billion had turned into 900 million. Lin Jun left the Huanyu auction house. After leaving, Lin Jun cleaned himself up and changed into a clean set of clothes before driving home. Lin Jun drove all the way back to Jiangbei district. He parked the car in the villa's garage. Just as he walked into the house, he heard a clattering sound coming from inside. Someone was playing mahjong inside. Mahjong was not only popular during the Common Era, but it was also passed down during the God Transformation Era. Many people even played it in the Interstellar Era. It was considered one of the 4 great inventions that Earthlings brought to the Interstellar Era. After humanity migrated to the Interstellar Era, the network, weapons, spaceflight, and other things that they were once proud of were not even worth mentioning. The cultivation civilization and technological civilization in the Interstellar Era had reached a highly developed state. Earthlings were natives through and through. On the contrary, football, Chinese cuisine, mahjong, and dodiju were popular in the Interstellar Era. They were hailed as the 4 great inventions. In his previous life, Lin Jun had once heard that a certain comet stage martial artist had won an interstellar battleship in a head-to-head duel with all his weapons. There was also a great expert at the stellar stage who had called for a landlord, only to be bombarded with anti-spring and lose a resource planet in one go. Walking into the living room of the villa, he found that his parents were there. The other 2 were his old neighbors. Seeing Lin Jun come in, the 2 old neighbors stood up a little awkwardly and bowed slightly to greet Lin Jun. "Uncle Wang, Auntie Wang, you guys are here. Carry on playing, don't worry about me." Lin Jun greeted them with a smile. Lin Liye also waved his hand. "Let's play our own game. Don't worry about this brat. After becoming a martial artist, he's been away from home all day. Who knows where he's been running off to?" Li Qin was more concerned about her son. Although Lin Jun often called home when he was outside, she was still very happy to see her son back. She thought of cooking for her son. "You guys have fun, Mom. I've already eaten. We'll have dinner together tonight." "Will you be gone for so long this time?" Li Qin sat down and asked. Not for the time being. He should be in the base city for the time being. Oh, that's good. Go and rest. The old folks continued playing mahjong while Lin Zhen walked to his room. Looking back at his parents, Lin Zhen saw that their hair had already turned white. He felt a little emotional. He was on the path of cultivation. Martial artists were fine when they were in the third stage of the mortal realm: the warrior, the general, and the god of war. However, once they entered the star realm, they would have a long life. If his family couldn't cultivate, they would definitely pass away prematurely. Lin Zhen didn't want his parents to leave him. The only way was to help them embark on the path of cultivation. However, his parents had long passed the best age for cultivation. If he wanted them to cultivate, the only way was to buy the vitality elixir from the European Union. This elixir could improve the human body's functions and stimulate the potential of the cells, giving people a second chance at cultivation. It was an important technological achievement that the European Union was ahead of the other major countries. However, the production of this elixir required the genes of SS-grade mutated beasts, as well as many S-grade and A-grade genes. The production cost was ridiculously high, and the price was also prohibitive. The vitality elixir sold by the European Union was on the internet of the capital base city. The price of each bottle was 20 billion. If Lin Zhen wanted to get 2 bottles of vitality elixir, he would need 40 billion, which was undoubtedly an astronomical figure. Even when Lin Zhen entered the star realm in his previous life, he didn't have that much money. However, this time, Lin Zhen had to give his parents another chance at cultivation. He had to have 40 billion. Back in his room, Lin Zhen turned on his computer. He logged into the Warrior Forum. He thought that the first post he saw would be about the Elon tragedy, but it wasn't. The top post on the Warrior Forum was like this: the 3 Russian masters of the Azure Martial Arts School challenged the Guangying Martial Arts School today. Live video. It was already past the time for the live broadcast. The video was from the morning. Lin Zhen opened it and watched. The person who appeared on the stage was called Nerov, a tall Russian who was more than 2 meters tall. He was as strong as a polar bear, and his well-developed muscles gave people an exaggerated feeling. He had brought some people from the Azure Sky Martial Arts Club with him, and Lin Zhen could roughly remember their names. In the video, Nerov was fighting with a level 9 warrior in the Guangying Martial Arts School. The level 9 warrior was the trump card of the Guangying Martial Arts School. His speed and strength were the best, but he was far from being Nerov's opponent. Nerov's strength was even stronger than Mengdong's, who was born with divine strength. He had exceeded the limit of the normal warrior stage and was comparable to a general. His huge body also had a strong resistance to attack. The level 9 warrior's attacks were like child's play in his eyes. He was basically fine after taking a few hits. Instead, he made the level 9 warrior retreat awkwardly with one punch. The fight lasted less than a minute, and the level 9 warrior was knocked down with one punch. He spat out blood. It would be difficult for him to become a general in the future. Ha ha ha. Sick man of East Asia. Nerov's Chinese was quite standard. It was very clear. A group of people behind him laughed wildly. A warrior of the Guangying Martial Arts School couldn't bear it anymore. He took out a long sword and attacked Nerov. Nerov didn't move. Instead, it was a Russian woman with a hot body behind him who attacked. The 2 swords in the woman's hands were like lightning. She didn't slash left and right. Her continuous stabs were so fast that people couldn't see clearly. They only saw a flash of sword light, and the warrior was lying in a pool of blood. Even if he was not dead, he was definitely injured. After defeating the Guangying Martial Arts School's people, this group of people laughed and left. The officials didn't care at all if no one died in the battle. There was more than one similar post. In the past few days, the Azure Sky Martial Arts School's people were challenging everywhere. The result was that the Russians won without exception. There were a total of 3 Russians. In addition to the strongman Nerov and the lightning swordswoman Eva, there was another Russian called Ivan who had never fought. The comments under the post were filled with righteous indignation. They all reprimanded the Russian warriors for being vicious. They also scolded the Azure Sky martial arts schools people for colluding with the Russians and attacking the Chinese warriors. Azure Sky martial arts schools people. You betrayed your country for glory. You don't deserve to be a warrior. Polar bear, go back to Siberia. Ice City doesn't welcome you. Siberia used to be China. If you want to go back to the Arctic. How many martial arts schools are this? Could it be that there was no one in Bing City who could stop these Russians? Where is the Dragon Slayer? Where is the Lifelong Martial Arts School? Lin Zhen's improvement was 99%. Wasn't he the #1 warrior genius? Don't mention Lin Zhen. He seems to have been feeding the monsters in Elon. If they want to deal with these Russians, they have to rely on our Dragon Slayers Lei Ming. Lei Ming is nothing. Even without Lin Zhen, Lifelong Martial Arts School is still the #1 martial arts school. Let's see how Fu Qingya and Shen Tuhua send these Russians back to their hometown. In front of Qin Jingqiu of Changfeng, those people you are talking about are just a pile of shit. Especially Lin Zhen. Fortunately, he died early. Otherwise, he would be trampled under the feet of others. The young master of Wanhao Group, Li Tianhao, is also quite strong. I wonder if he can fight? After reading these comments for a while, Lin Zhen closed the martial arts forum. Chapter 68. Lin Zhen did not return to the dojo the next day. Instead, he went online and ordered a bottle of Qi sensor support potion. Entering the general stage from the fighter stage was a crucial step. Lin Zhen already knew what kind of Qi sensor support potion he needed. The price of a bottle of Qi sensor support potion was 100 million. Lin Zhen added another 100 million for his private order. The remaining 900 million became 700 million in the blink of an eye. Lin Zhen could be described as spending money like water. After he finished communicating with the Ministry of Science and Technology and paid the deposit, Lin Zhen bought some virtual chip helmets and prepared to sell them. Just spending money and not making money was not enough. He wanted to sell the first layer of the 9 Heavy Spear River. The 9 Heavy Spear River was an ancient book. Most people did not know the origin of this book, but Lin Zhen knew. After the meteor shower of the Leo constellation descended, it greatly changed the Earth's environment and created some dangerous places. These places had harsh environments and ferocious mutated beasts. Some even formed their own independent space. However, they also contained great opportunities. Once one entered and came out, they would often reap great rewards. These places were called the Ancient God Ruins. The 9 Heavy Spear River secret manual came from there. Among them, the second and third layer had already appeared. However, because there was no first layer, the price was always very low. However, there were many people who learned spear arts in the world. One could imagine that once the first layer appeared, it would definitely cause a frenzy of sales. Lin Zhen had already started to try to cultivate the third layer of the waterfall. After cultivating the third layer to large success, he would be able to compete with ordinary war gods. However, Lin Zhen did not have the secret manual for the fourth layer. He knew that the secret manuals for the first and fourth layer were in the hands of the same person. Moreover, it was in Ice City. Soon, that person would put the secret manual for the first layer on the internet and make a huge profit. What Lin Zhen wanted to do was to release the first layer before that person. Not only could he earn some money, but he could also spread the news that the fourth layer would be released after a period of time. This would definitely cause that person to put the fourth layer on the market in advance. Lin Zhen would then be able to obtain the secret manual. Lin Zhen spent about 50 million to purchase 100 sets of helmet chip. For the next few days, Lin Zhen was busy with this task. Most of the time, Lin Zhen was recording the contents of the secret manual. Occasionally, when he was resting, he would take a walk downstairs in his own neighborhood, or eat and chat with his parents. His days were very leisurely and fulfilling. On the internet, the news about the Russian challengers was still ongoing. One by one, the dojos were defeated, and their reputation plummeted. On the other hand, Jade Sky Dojo took advantage of this incident to become popular. Although many people despised their actions, there were still many people who took the initiative to join Jade Sky Dojo. This made Jade Sky Dojo faintly surpass the three major dojos. Lin Zhen didn't pay much attention to what was happening on the internet. He just focused on working on the chip in his helmet. On the fifth day, Lin Zhen's work was finally completed. 100 sets of helmet chips had been recorded and could be sold online. Lin Zhen spent another 10 million to register an online shop called Neighbor's Shop. There was only one product, which was a set of helmet chip. 9 Spear River First Layer Gale. With such a simple title, Lin Zhen believed that it was enough to attract people. What he needed to do was to make as much money as possible before that person released the first layer. Lin Zhen set the price of the first layer at 10 million. After the photos and videos were done, he connected them to the Internet Surveillance Bureau. Lin Zhen's shop was considered complete. After doing all this, Lin Zhen stretched his body. The work of the past few days was finally completed. It was impossible to make too much money from this, but it could help Lin Zhen accumulate some startup funds. Just as he stood up and was about to stretch, his phone rang again. "Hello, Brother Zhao." Lin Zhen answered the phone. Zhao Yang's voice came from the other side. "Lin Zhen, have you seen the video on the internet?" "What happened?" The Russian trio from Jade Sky Dojo made their move again. This time, their opponent was Dragon Slaying Dojo. Thunder was injured by Narav, and Dragon Slaying was defeated. Dragon Slaying was defeated? Lin Zhen rubbed his chin. Yes. Jade Sky Dojo also announced that they will challenge Lai Feng in 3 days. Now, in the entire Bing City, only Lai Feng and Chong Feng have not been challenged. Lin Zhen thought for a while and said, "Lai Feng is the #1 dojo. Why didn't they challenge Chong Feng first?" Originally, they wanted to challenge Chong Feng. But Chong Feng's ace fighter, Chen Jingqiu, is still in the wilderness. That's why Chong Feng put up a no-challenge sign and said that they will not accept any challenges before Chen Jingqiu returns. That's why it was Lai Feng's turn. So be it. Do you think Lai Feng is afraid of challenges? Isn't a warrior's destiny to fight? Lin Zhen said nonchalantly. Master Lin, why don't you know the seriousness of this matter? Now that Chong Feng has admitted defeat, only Lai Feng is left in Bing City. We can't afford to lose. Now, not only the dojo master is here, but the mayor of Bing City is also here. Mayor? Lu Ming? Yes, it's Lu Ming. He's one of the 4 heavenly kings of Bing City. Not only is he the mayor of Bing City, he's also an 8th-level war god. He's a good friend of our dojo master. He personally announced that the Bing City will reward whoever can defeat the Russian trio. What are the rewards? 1 billion. At the same time, you'll become an honorary citizen of Bing City and enjoy all the free public facilities. Lin Zhen was speechless. This reward wasn't small. Not only was there a huge amount of money, but there was also honor. This was very attractive to warriors. The purpose of practicing martial arts was to earn money, to become a person above others, and to be respected by others. However, this wasn't what Lin Zhen needed. 1 billion was a lot, but Lin Zhen could make this amount or even more with an idea. For example, this 9-layered spear river. Lin Zhen believed that he could make 200 helmets and sell them. Moreover, he was a spirit reader master. He was very popular in the wilderness. Earning some money wasn't difficult at all. What he needed was the right to buy and sell meteorite. He wanted to do business with the Ministry of Science and Technology. This was the fastest way to make money and increase his strength. It seemed that Lu Ming hadn't realized the seriousness of the problem. Whether it was Fu Qingya or Shintuhua, they weren't Ivan's match. They were even weaker than Narav and Eva. Only Chen Jingqiu was the real #1 genius of Bing City. In his previous life, he narrowly defeated Ivan, which made his future glorious. What was the best way to ensure that he could maximize his benefits? Lin Zhen was thinking silently. On the other side of the phone, Zhao Yang was still chattering. Lin Zhen, you should come quickly. The dojo master also said that if you defeat one Russian, you can choose one item from the dojo's store. If you defeat 3, you can get 3 items. Fu Qingya and Shintuhua are about to fight over who's going first. Meng Dong is also eager to fight. If you don't come now, I'm afraid you won't even get to drink the soup. Brother Zhao, you didn't tell anyone that I'm a spirit reader master, right? Lin Zhen asked. Of course not. Brother Zhao, I'm not a person who doesn't keep his mouth shut. Including your performance in Elon, Old Gao and I didn't mention it at all. We only said that you were separated in Elon, but you're still alive. If we had told anyone, I'm afraid the dojo master would have gone to Elon to bring you out. That's good. Brother Zhao, I'd better not go to the dojo first. Isn't the challenge 3 days later? I'll definitely rush over then. Zhao Yang was silent for a moment. Okay, brother. I'll do as you say. I know you're a person who knows how to do things. Brother Zhao believes in you. Haha. Don't worry, Brother Zhao. I, Lin Zhen, am not a coward who will let foreigners wreak havoc in our country. It's just that I still need to practice these few days to ensure that I can defeat those foreigners. If someone asks about my situation, you can say that I went out to practice again and will be back in a few days. Okay. Then I'll wait for your news. Brother, do your best. We can't afford to lose. After hanging up the phone call with Zhao Liang, Lin Zhen logged into the Warrior Forum again. He was looking for a piece of news. A piece of news about Chen Jingqiu from Changfeng. Chapter 69. There was a lot of information on the internet, and Lin Zhen quickly found some clues. Chen Jingqiu was a bit different. He was a lone ranger, but he was indeed very strong because he was also a spirit reader. Among the new generation in Bingqing, Lin Zhen only knew 3 people who were spirit readers. One was Lin Zhen himself, one was Ding Ning, and the other was Chen Jingqiu. Of course, the other 2 people's spirit reading power couldn't be compared to Lin Zhen's, but it was enough for them to go to the less dangerous wilderness to gain experience. Based on some clues, Lin Zhen determined Chen Jingqiu's whereabouts. He went south, passed through the oil city, and went to the original Changchun area. Lin Zhen saw a post from a Changfeng martial artist. He said that when Chen Jingqiu returned the day after tomorrow, he would let those Russians know how powerful he was. This meant that Chen Jingqiu was coming back, and his route should still be through the oil city. The time should be tomorrow night to the morning of the day after tomorrow. Lin Zhen had carefully considered killing Chen Jingqiu. Lin Zhen was confident that he could kill Chen Jingqiu, but the risks were not small. Chen Jingqiu was the #1 person in the younger generation of Changfeng, and he was also a spirit reader. It could be said that he was the future of the dojo. Qin Yunfei, the dojo master of Changfeng, valued him very much and even trained him as his successor. If he killed him, Changfeng would definitely not let it go. However, Lin Zhen felt that it was worth it. If he didn't kill Chen Jingqiu, the impact on the future would be too great. He wouldn't hesitate to become enemies with Changfeng. Lin Zhen turned off the internet and prepared to leave for the oil city. At this time, his phone received a text message. 10 million yuan had been transferred to his account. The first secret manual of 9 Heavy Spear River had been sold. Lin Zhen's mouth revealed a smile. He had already told his parents how to deliver the goods, so it was expected that the 9 Heavy Spear River would sell well. He also announced on the online store that he would be selling the 4th layer of 9 Heavy Spear River in a while. Please look forward to it. He believed that the person who possessed the 1st and 4th layers would soon be unable to sit still. The 4th layer of the 9 Heavy Spear River was about to appear. Lin Zhen kept his phone and said goodbye to his parent. He then got up and left Jiangbei Villa district. He drove out of Bing City and went straight to the south gate of Bing City. When he passed by the bridge, he saw two women arguing by the roadside. The two women were none other than Li Mengxi and Ruoro. The two survivors of the demon god were lucky enough to run out of Elan. However, looking at their agitated expressions, Ruoro pulled Li Mengxi aside and said something loudly. Li Mengxi explained with a red face, seemingly unhappy as well. Lin Jun sneered. She drove past them and didn't look at them again. Lin Jun knew why they were arguing. Looking at Ruoro's tightly wrapped appearance, it was obvious that she had not been having a good time. Bai Feng was a war god level expert. She was obviously not going to let it go. She would definitely find out who took the dark energy stone. With a little investigation, she would naturally trace it back to Ruoro and Li Mengxi. This was because they were the only two female warriors who entered Elan. Li Mengxi was definitely not a suspect after the investigation, so the only suspect left was Ruoro. Bai Feng probably had not found Ruoro yet, but Ruoro could not hide forever. Once Bai Feng found Ruoro, the truth would slowly come to light. This was because Ruoro did not have the dark energy stone. At that time, all the warriors who were still in Elan would be listed as suspects. Lin Jun was undoubtedly one of them. Bai Feng would definitely investigate everyone. Lin Jun could not be careless. He had to seize every moment to strengthen himself and deal with the dangers that might come in the future. The car drove out of Bingqing Bay City and headed towards Oil City in the southeast. Just as Lin Jun's car was about to disappear at the end of the road, Li Mengxi suddenly turned around and looked at Lin Jun's car for a while. Her eyes revealed a complicated expression. Oil City was about 200 kilometers away from Bingqing. The road between them was not bad, but a few years ago, Oil City experienced a monster attack. This caused the road to be seriously damaged. The road was full of potholes and was not easy to travel on. In the past few years, there had been no opportunity to fix it. Lin Jun drove for more than 4 hours and only arrived at Oil City at midnight. He found a hotel in Oil City to rest for the night. The next morning, Lin Jun drove out of Oil City and headed south. If Chen Jingqiu came back from this direction, he would have to pass by a supply station in the south. Lin Jun would go there to intercept him. Oil City's supply station was the southernmost human settlement. Further south, there was only the southwest direction that led to Beijing Bay City. However, that was more than 1,000 kilometers away. Within 1,000 kilometers, it was a monster's playground. When Lin Jun arrived at the supply station, it was already afternoon. He did not enter the supply station. Instead, he continued driving south for another 20 kilometers until he reached the end of the road. Further ahead, there was a river. The river was a natural boundary. The monsters on land rarely went near the river. Lin Jun believed that if Chen Jingqiu came back, he would have to pass by here. After stopping the car, Lin Jun took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. The name of the cigarette was Chia. It was said to commemorate the greatest warrior, Yan Chia. Yan Chia was a national hero and had contributed greatly to the establishment of Bingqing Bay City. Yan Chia went missing 300 years ago. Some people said that he had died. However, many people believed that he was still alive. This was because when he went missing, he was already at the peak of the warlord level. To commemorate Yan Chia, the Chia brand of cigarettes was introduced. At that time, there was a debate about how to smoke Yan Chia. Wasn't this blasphemy against a hero? However, the cigarettes were still passed down. Lin Jun did not smoke normally. He would only smoke one when he was bored. He smoked a cigarette and rested for a while. This repeated until it was almost nighttime. Finally, someone arrived. On the bridge over the river, the headlights of a car appeared and drove over. The car was a modified Hummer. It was Chen Jingqiu's car. Lin Jun took out his black dragon spear and stood beside the raptor, waiting for Chen Jingqiu's arrival. The car stopped beside Lin Jun. Chen Jingqiu got out of the car. As a warrior, Lin Zhen's battle intent was obvious. Chen Jingqiu knew that he could not continue forward. Moreover, he was very confident. As a warrior, he was confident that he did not need to be afraid of anyone. Chen Jingqiu's weapons were dual swords. When he got out of the car, he immediately recognized Lin Zhen. After all, Lin Zhen was very famous among the warriors. Lin Zhen, I have no enmity with you. Why is this so? Chen Jingqiu did not beat around the bush and went straight to the point. Lin Zhen looked at Chen Jingqiu coldly. Because one warrior in Bing City is enough. Very good. If you can say something like this, it means that you and I are the same type of people. I also think this way, but I am not as decisive as you. I am impressed that you can come here from Bing City. Seems like only one of us can return to Bing City alive today. Chen Jingqiu pulled out his dual swords and got into a battle stance. Lin Zhen also waved his black dragon spear. Indeed, only one of us can return alive. But that person will not be you. Arrogant. Chen Jingqiu twirled his dual swords in his hands and in the next second, he launched a fierce attack. He was very angry when he attacked. He was unhappy with Lin Zhen for blocking his way. He did not show any mercy. His dual swords were very lethal. Lin Zhen's eyes were also cold. This Chen Jingqiu, no matter if it was because of the hatred from his previous life or because of the need in this life, he must kill him. Chapter 70. This was the first time Lin Zhen had exchanged blows with Chen Jingqiu in his previous life. In his previous life, he had been kicked by Chen Jingqiu. Lin Zhen had originally thought that with his abilities as a peak 9th rank warrior and the first 2 layers of his spear technique to the large success stage, defeating Chen Jingqiu would not be a problem even if he did not use his spiritual force. But after exchanging blows with him, Lin Zhen realized that Chen Jingqiu's strength was actually this strong. Clang, 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 clang. The twin blades rolled over like a tidal wave. Lin Zhen actually had no way to attack first. He could only rely on his long weapon's defense and his reflexes to block. Clang, 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 clang. Too weak, too weak. Lin Zhen, is this all you've got? Clang, 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 clang. Too slow, too slow. Apart from dodging relatively fast, your counterattacks are like a snail's. Chen Jingqiu chattered incessantly as he attacked. A series of noises entered Lin Zhen's ears. The spear shaft trembled continuously. Lin Zhen discovered a fact. Chen Jingqiu's strength was above his, and the quality of his weapon was also better than his. However, Lin Zhen was never one to take a beating passively. Between the intense attacks and defenses, he twisted his body a few times, dodging Chen Jingqiu's consecutive killing moves. He also forcefully withstood the blades' slash at his waist. Finally, he broke out of his defensive stance. Although he had suffered some light injuries, Lin Zhen did not care at all. His spear shot out a large number of spear flowers. A series of flashes flashed, and spear light rained down like a storm. The two people's speed was extremely fast. On the snowy wilderness, the footprints on the ground were either a string or a single one far away. Pooh! Chen Jingqiu's thigh was hit by a spear, but his counterattack slashed at Lin Zhen's shoulder. Chen Jingqiu was injured in one place, while Lin Zhen was injured in 2 places. Chen Jingqiu sneered. Lin Zhen, I have to admit that you are very strong. You really live up to your reputation of being able to increase your physique by 99%. Especially your reflexes, I can only look up to you. However, compared to me, your strength and speed are still slightly lacking. You have no chance of winning. Lin Zhen held his spear and took a few deep breaths. Chen Jingqiu was also very strong. Although he hadn't used his mental strength yet, the strength he displayed was not inferior to an ordinary beginner warlord. Even though Lin Zhen had comprehended torrential rain, he still couldn't do anything to Chen Jingqiu. To be precise, he was at a disadvantage. Chen Jingqiu didn't care about the injury on his shoulder. He didn't give Lin Zhen any chance to catch his breath. After pausing for a moment, he once again brandished his dual blades to attack. However, from his eyes, Lin Jun could tell that he had run out of patience and was about to kill. Sure enough, the moment the blades and spears collided, two flying daggers rose from behind Chen Jingqiu. The flying daggers were filled with a cyan aura, proving that Chen Jingqiu was a bronze stage spirit reader. There was no silver light in the cyan aura, indicating that he hadn't reached the peak of the bronze stage yet. It was estimated that he was only at the intermediate stage. The flying daggers skimmed through the air, and the snowflakes on the ground retreated at this moment. They attacked Lin Jun like lightning. Just when Chen Jingqiu launched a sneak attack with the flying daggers and thought that victory was in his hands, Lin Jun smiled. "Chen Jingqiu, you are indeed a genius, but it's a pity that you met me." As soon as he raised his hand, Chen Jingqiu suddenly felt that he had lost control of his flying daggers. "This is impossible." Chen Jingqiu's pupils dilated at this moment. He stared blankly at the flying daggers that had lost control and were spinning in the air. The cyan aura on them disappeared and was replaced by a bright silver aura. There were also traces of golden aura flowing on them. Early stage gold stage. He is actually a spirit reader at the early stage gold stage. How is this possible? How is this possible? I must be hallucinating. Lin Jun didn't say anything else to him. With a flick of his finger, two flying daggers flew past Chen Jingqiu at a speed more than 10 times the speed of sound. They slashed across Chen Jingqiu's throat, causing him to die without a trace of pain. After killing Chen Jingqiu, Lin Jun's heart was clear. His physical strength had improved a little again. Lin Jun felt that he was on the verge of a breakthrough. As long as he was willing, he could meditate on the spot and comprehend the aura of heaven and earth. He could stimulate the aura in his dantian and form a hidden force that would circulate in his body. He would then enter the warlord stage. Of course, Lin Jun couldn't do this. He couldn't afford to fail during the breakthrough process. It wasn't time for him to enter the warlord stage yet. Most importantly, he hadn't prepared the qi-sensing auxiliary medicine. People who practiced martial arts were particular about having a clear mind. If one couldn't take revenge, it would form a depression in one's heart. It would cause one's qi to not flow smoothly, and one's future achievements wouldn't be too high. In his previous life, Chen Jingqiu was one of Lin Jun's enemies. After killing him, Lin Jun felt a lot more comfortable. Naturally, he would have a breakthrough. However, this battle also made Lin Jun realize that his strength was far from enough. Although he had killed a high-level warlord, it was a sneak attack when the other party was extremely tired. It was a coincidence and didn't mean anything. After arriving at Chen Jingqiu's Hummer, Lin Jun saw a backpack on the driver's seat and immediately opened it. "It's quite heavy." Lin Jun opened it and took a look. There were many things inside. Among them, there were about 40 to 50 mutated beast crystals, all of which were Class C mutated beasts. As a lone ranger, it was very difficult to obtain so many crystals. Lin Jun put them all into his space ring without hesitation. There were also many mutated beast materials. Lin Jun looked through them one by one. The total value was about 40 million. Lin Jun also put them away. When he rummaged to the bottom of the backpack, Lin Jun saw a blue-black stone. Seeing this, Lin Jun was stunned. He carefully took out the stone. Although it was only the size of a goose egg, it weighed more than 50 kilograms. This is actually a planet's core? Am I seeing this right? Lin Jun held it and looked at it repeatedly. In the end, he even took 2 bites of it. 5 minutes later, he shouted excitedly, "It can't be wrong. This is really a planet's core." No wonder Chen Jingqiu made a request to the base city to buy meteorites in my previous life. It turns out that at this moment, he had obtained a planet's core and tasted the sweetness. That's why he wanted meteorites. Lin Jun was so excited that his hands were trembling. A planet's core was also an extremely precious thing in the galaxy. He didn't expect someone in Bingqing to find it, and this person was Qin Jingqiu. Planets don't appear out of thin air. Generally speaking, the birth of a planet requires the birth of a planet's core, which is also known as the planet's core. According to astronomy, a planet is formed by the free objects in the universe. They condense together and gradually cool down. After a long period of time, a planet is formed. Some astronomers believe that a planet is born from a black hole in the universe. There are different explanations, but Lin Jin knew about this. This was because his soul had traveled through time and space in a black hole in the universe and returned to the present world. That's why he had some understanding of black holes. He believed that there would not be a second person in the universe who had such an experience. A planet is indeed formed by celestial bodies, but the core of a planet is not completely formed by celestial bodies. Many planets' cores are formed by black holes. Inside a black hole is the most mysterious and dangerous place in the universe. The core of a planet formed by black holes is also a very mysterious object. The core of a planet has its own gravitational force, which is why celestial bodies can be formed. After the celestial bodies are formed, after a long period of evolution, the energy in the celestial bodies will be injected into the core of the planet. Therefore, even a fragment of a planet's core is extraordinary. It contains a powerful energy. If a martial artist absorbs it, it will produce a mysterious power. In Lin Jin's previous life, he had encountered a martial artist who had absorbed the energy of a planet's core. There was a move that left a deep impression on him. It was called the space capture. This means that even if an opponent runs into the sky and I beckon them with my hand, they will be pulled back by my gravitational force. Just like a bird, no matter how strong it is, it cannot fly out of the gravitational range of the Earth and will eventually fall back to the ground. All planets' cores have their own gravitational force. If a martial artist can absorb a little of it, it will be infinitely useful. Gravitational force is only the basic force of a planet's core. Some planets' cores also have other energy bodies, such as the one in Lin Jin's hand. The black, neat, and hard stone surface faintly glowed with a blue light. When Lin Jin stroked it, he could feel his hairs stand on end. This was the elemental power of thunder. The Leonid's meteor shower is actually a broken planet. Many meteorites fell on Earth, and the planet's core was also broken. The one in my hand is the thunder core. There should be several other planet cores on Earth, but the one in my hand is the rarest one. This is because the elemental power of thunder is the most tyrannical power. With this thing, if I can absorb the gravitational force and thunder for my own use, then I will truly have the qualifications to climb to the peak. Chapter 71. The Zephyr Martial Arts School opened its doors early in the morning. Everyone who could be present had already arrived. Dongfang Jun and Lu Ming didn't leave last night. They were waiting for Jade Sky's people to come and challenge them. When a warrior-level opponent came to challenge them, war gods and warriors couldn't fight them. They could only send warrior-level fighters to fight them. This made Dongfang Jun feel helpless. Many of the teams that went out had also returned. They gathered in the hall of the martial arts school and discussed with each other. The vice master of the martial arts school, a level 5 war god, Tong Yuehu, was discussing with the warriors. In order to prepare for today's battle, the warriors of the Zephyr Martial Arts School had prepared early. Among them, Fu Qingyao, Shintu Hua, and Meng Dong were the main force. Tong Yuehu stood in front of the three and said in a heavy tone, "The three of you have a very important mission today. We have also studied the videos of those Russians. The mission distribution is as follows." Tong Yuehu pointed at Meng Dong. "You are born with divine strength. Your strength is not inferior to Nerev. If Nerev enters the battle, you will enter the battle. You can only win, not lose. Do you understand?" Meng Dong was now a peak level 8 warrior. However, he was born with divine strength. His strength had almost reached the limit of a warrior's strength of 1,000 kilograms. Meng Dong nodded. However, He wasn't confident. Nerev's strength was probably greater than his. Moreover, his defense was very strong. His chances of winning weren't high. However, as a warrior, he had to give it a try. If he won this battle, he could choose any reward from the martial arts school's store. The reward was too generous. Anyone would be tempted. Tong Yuehu came to Fu Qingyao. Qingyao, your swordsmanship is not bad. Moreover, you use two swords. It can restrain Eva's two-handed sword. Our Chinese swordsmanship has a long history. It has been passed down for thousands of years. It should be better than Western swordsmanship. Are you confident? Don't worry, Vice Master. I have long wanted to teach that Russian woman a lesson. As long as she comes, she won't be able to leave. Tong Yuehu nodded with satisfaction. This was the kind of momentum he wanted. It seemed like Fu Qingyao was more useful than Mengdong. Finally, Tong Yuehu arrived in front of Shintuhua. A smile appeared on Shintuhua's face. He was related to Tong Yuehu, which was one of the reasons he had chosen to join Gale. Tong Yuehu had indeed taken good care of Shintuhua. He had helped Shintuhua in every aspect. With Tong Yuehu's help, Shintuhua had already entered the 9th-level warrior phase. Although he was one level higher than Fu Qingyao, who was at the pinnacle of 8th level, his strength had already vaguely become the number 1 in Lai Feng. Tong Yuehu patted Shintuhua's shoulder. Shintuhua, although we are relatives, I won't be biased towards you. This time, your mission is the most important. Ivan from the other side is your opponent. Although this person has never made a move in front of others, according to common sense, he must be the strongest. Once this person makes a move, you will be responsible for blocking. Do you have the confidence? The two of them had already studied this matter. Regarding the Russian trio, their final conclusion was that neither Nerev nor Evo were easy to deal with. Shintuhua was not completely confident. On the other hand, this Ivan had never made a move. Perhaps he was just an embroidered pillow. Letting Shintuhua deal with him was a kind of consideration for Shintuhua. Shintuhua had already made up his mind. At this moment, he replied with a red face, "Don't worry, Deputy Headmaster. There are no cowards in Lai Feng. Leave Ivan to me. I will definitely win." "Ha ha, good boy. You are indeed imposing." Tong Yuehu smiled with satisfaction. Then he said to the three of them, "Today, Mayor Lu Ming of the base city is also here. The mayor said that the base city will give a reward of 1 billion to whoever contributes the most in this battle. If you all win, the 1 billion will be divided among the three of you according to your contributions." The three of them raised their heads and puffed out their chests. Their hearts were filled with anticipation. Also, if you win, you will also be an honorary citizen of Bingqing City. This is a great honor. All the public facilities in Bingqing City will be free. Do you want it? Yes, the three of them answered in unison. If you want it, then work harder. It's almost time now. You guys should relax. I think the people from Jade Sky will be here soon. After that, Tong Yuehu walked to the middle of the warlords. Mengdong and the others had nothing to do, so they followed him. Do you guys have any thoughts or opinions? Tong Yuehu asked these warlords. There were hundreds of warlords in Lai Feng, and there were dozens of people present today. Most of them shook their heads, indicating that they had no opinions. The headmaster and the deputy headmaster had made a good arrangement. At this time, Shirley hesitated and said, "I think that if Lin Jin comes back, we will be really confident." As soon as Shirley said this, Fu Qingyao was the first to twitch her mouth. "So what if Lin Jin comes back? Isn't the result of your trip to Ilan County obvious? Yi Tiancheng is dead and Lin Jin hasn't returned yet. Maybe he has been eaten by monsters now." At this time, Zhao Liang said from the side, "Lin Jin is not dead. He just went out to train again. I think he will be back soon." I was afraid that he wouldn't come back. Lin Jin, that bastard. When he comes back, I will definitely let him know how powerful I am." Fu Qingyao was still unconvinced. After this period of training, she was confident that she could defeat Lin Jun. She was still brooding about what happened in the past. Meng Dong said at this time, "That's not necessarily true. Seeing you here, my confidence is not strong. If Lin Jun was here, let alone 3 against 3, even if Lin Jun and I were to fight 3 against 2, those 3 Russians wouldn't be able to win." Shintuhua rolled his eyes. "Meng Dong, what are you talking about? What benefits did Lin Jun give you that you need to cheer for him here? Lin Jun is just a warlord now. How can he defeat strong enemies? I don't even need to do anything to deal with Lin Jun. Fu Qingya is enough." After Shintuhua became a level 9 warlord, he was full of confidence and did not care about other warlords. His words not only insulted Lin Jun, but also looked down on Fu Qingya. Fu Qingya was also unconvinced. He was just relying on his good uncle. He was not even his biological uncle. What was there to be proud of? "Shintuhua, I am warning you. You can talk about that trash Lin Jun, but you can't talk about me. I want to duel with you." "Let's duel then. Do I need to be afraid of you? Today, I will prove to everyone who is the strongest of the new generation in Bingqing." Shintuhua stood up fearlessly. Tong Yuehu frowned. Just as he was about to speak, there was a commotion outside. "Ah! A bunch of frogs in a well. You want to fight among yourselves? Could it be that, if you frogs win, you will be the strongest in Bingqing?" Liefeng's warlords looked outside and saw a large group of people walking in. Other than Jade Sky's warlords, the Russian trio was very eye-catching. The gloomy Ivan, the sexy Eva, and the tall Nerov, who was as big as a polar bear, walked in. Liefeng's internal strife also stopped. Chapter 72. With the arrival of the Jade Sky Dojo, the internal strife of the Gale Dojo immediately stopped. Dongfang Jun and Lu Ming, who had been indoors all this time, came out. Lu Ming took the lead and said to Yang Jianying, the master of the Jade Sky Dojo, "Master Yang, I know that the Jade Sky Dojo wants to make a name for itself in Bingqing headquarters city. But after so many days, your name has spread far and wide. Many people have joined the Jade Sky Dojo, and you have gained a lot. Do you really have to challenge the Gale Dojo? You should know that the Gale Dojo is the flag of Huaxia. It will not be good for anyone if the Gale Dojo is shaken." Yang Jianying was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He was a 6th-grade war god. He saluted Lu Ming and said, "Mayor Lu, it's not that I don't want to give you face, but the rise of a dojo is related to the fate of countless people. I can't change it. Besides, a battle between warriors is not something the headquarters city government can interfere with." At this moment, a few people with glasses, microphones, and video cameras came out from behind Yang Jianying. "I am a reporter from Tianxia News. Mayor Lu, are you trying to interfere with a normal battle between warriors?" A man with a protruding mouth and monkey-like cheeks asked first. Looking at these reporters, Lu Ming frowned slightly. "I don't mean that. I am just thinking about the issue from the perspective of national justice. If both sides insist, the headquarters city will respect the decision of the warriors." After saying that, Lu Ming turned around and walked back to his seat. After sitting down, Lu Ming said to Dongfang Jun, "Dongfang, your dojo cannot lose. The Jade Sky Dojo cannot let them rise. No matter what price I have to pay, I will not let the Russians ride roughshod over us. This is my bottom line, and also the will of the headquarters city." Looking at Lu Ming's pale face, Dongfang Jun nodded. He knew that the mayor had always disliked the Jade Sky Dojo and the Russians. He was really angry. However, Dongfang Jun was not confident. Meng Dong, Fu Qingyao, and Shintuhua could not make him feel at ease. Lin Jun, that brat, gives people the impression that he's relatively calm. If he's here, maybe we'll have some confidence. Dongfang Jun looked at Zhao Liang. Zhao Liang lowered his head a little unnaturally. He knew that the hall master was asking about Lin Jun again. He was here to cover for Lin Jun, but he still felt a little guilty when facing the hall master. Dongfang Jun frowned slightly. He felt that Zhao Yang's expression was strange, but the fight was about to start. It wasn't good to call Zhao Liang over to ask, so he could only wait for a while. The surrounding people dispersed. In the center of the hall there was a huge hard leather mat. There were countless marks on the leather mat, but there was no damage. This mat was made of the same material as the rubber training dummies. Even if it was damaged, it would quickly recover. It was the best place to practice martial arts, which was equivalent to a temporary arena. After the mats were laid out, the people from Lai Feng and Jade Sky stood on both sides. The reporters also set up their cameras. Many people present also took out their phones and prepared to record. The challenge was about to begin. The Russian strongman Nerov was the first to go on stage as usual. His huge body staggered up to the ring. Nerov first gave a thumbs up. This Russian devil is still a little polite. Well, since he came up and said he was polite, then let's not be rude. It seems that this person is not as tyrannical as the rumors say. He still knows how to respect the #1 martial arts school in China. The warriors of Laifeng were discussing animatedly, but before they could finish, Nerov suddenly pointed his thumb down and made a circle at the crowd of Laifeng. He grinned and said, "What Laifeng? What #1 martial arts club in China? You're all trash in my eyes. Watch how I tear you to pieces. Arrogant! How dare you? Mengdong, go teach this old Russian a lesson." The warriors of Lai Feng couldn't go on stage due to the rules. They could only cheer for Mengdong. Mengdong nodded, got up and walked onto the arena. Mengdong's height was close to 2 meters, but in front of Nerov, he still felt half a head shorter. "Huaxia kid, I hope you won't cry when I beat you later." Nerov laughed nastily, and without waiting for Mengdong to make a response, he suddenly exploded, and a fist blasted over. A muffled thunder-like sound was heard in the room. All the martial artists present looked dignified. As martial artists they were very clear about this sound. This was a sonic boom, which meant that the speed of a martial artist's fist had exceeded the speed of sound. Moreover, the force of the punch had exceeded 1,000 kilograms. Basically, most of the warlord-level martial artists could achieve this. However, it was basically impossible for a warrior to achieve this. At least, Mengdong couldn't do it. Sure enough, Mengdong did not expect Nerov's punch to be so fast. Watching a video and fighting on the spot were two completely different things. According to his previous habit, he instinctively raised his hand and punched, but it was like punching a running bison. Mengdong's arm was numb and he staggered back. Nerov laughed wildly, and his fists fell like raindrops. Mengdong suddenly fell into a passive state. But Mengdong's will was still very strong. Even if he was at a disadvantage, he still tried his best to resist and counterattack. Nerov could not defeat him in a few moves. The reporters below were reporting the situation in the arena. Not only Azure Sky martial artists brought reporters, but also Lai Feng martial artists. After all, this was an eternal topic for martial artists, and there would never be a lack of attention. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. We are now at Lai Feng Martial Arts School. Everyone knows that the 3 Russian disciples from Azure Sky Martial Arts School have already defeated the entire Bing City Martial Arts School. Today we are at Lai Feng Martial Arts School. Can Lai Feng Martial Arts School, as the #1 martial arts school in China, protect the last bit of face of the Chinese martial artists? Let's look at the situation in the arena. The battle between Nerov and Mengdong has reached the climax. We can see that Mengdong is very tenacious. Nerov threw a heavy punch. Mengdong blocked it. Mengdong retreated again. He was forced to the corner of the arena by Nerov. If he falls down, he will be judged as the loser. Mengdong is in danger. Mengdong used a very irregular posture to sneak under Nerov's armpit. It seems that Nerov still needs some time to win. But if this continues, Mengdong's situation and Lai Feng's situation will be worrisome. Could it be that all the fighters in Bing City Martial Arts School are not a match for the Russian martial artists? We need heroes now. This is the report from our reporter at Lai Feng Martial Arts School. Many of the martial artists who were watching the battle had uploaded videos. This battle was the focus of everyone's attention. Dongfang Jun from Lai Feng Martial Arts School had given out high rewards, and even the Bing City Martial Arts School had promised to reward the winner. The people in Bing City Martial Arts School were also paying close attention to this battle. If Lai Feng Martial Arts School lost, then Bing City Martial Arts School would have no hope. At this time, no one thought that the fighters from Changfeng Martial Arts School would be more powerful than Lai Feng Martial Arts School. After all, only Chen Jingqiu had some fame. But compared to the 3 Russian disciples, Chen Jingqiu was not enough. But when the live broadcast of the battle was released, everyone was stunned. The 3 Russian disciples were so powerful, and the first fighter from Lai Feng Martial Arts School was about to lose. Let's change the fighters. Who is this? I have never heard of this person. Who asked him to fight? He is obviously not a match for the Russian martial arts school. Is there no one else in Lai Feng? Where is Fu Qingya? Isn't he a first-class student in number 1 high school? Where is Shen Tuhua? Isn't he the number 1 fighter in 2nd high school? Why isn't he fighting? Are you blind? Can't you see that Fu Qingyao and Shen Tuhua are watching from below? It will be their turn in a while. This match is a 3-on-3 battle. The winner will win 2 out of 3 matches. Do you understand? 2 out of 3 matches? Lai Feng Martial Arts School is about to lose. I don't believe that Lai Feng Martial Arts School can win 2 matches in a row. That's right. Where is Lin Zhen? Lin Zhen is such an arrogant guy. With a 99% increase in strength, he defeated a warlord as an 8th-level fighter. I heard that he also showed his super strong ability to hunt monsters in Elan Town. Why didn't they use such a powerful person? What is Dongfang Jun thinking? I also support Lin Zhen. I also received news that Lin Zhen came back from Elan Town many days ago. Why did Lai Feng Martial Arts School hide him? If Lai Feng Martial Arts School loses this battle, Dongfang Jun will have to take full responsibility. Is Lin Zhen afraid of fighting? Lin Zhen, come out. Now it is not the martial arts school that needs you, it is China that needs you. What are you shouting for? The Russian trio is so strong. Lin Zhen, that embroidered pillow, is useless even if he comes. Deserter, coward. I, Ouyang Yu, despise you. Zhao Liang could not sit still while the battle was going on in the ring. He took out his phone and wanted to call Lin Zhen secretly. However, when he called, no one answered. Zhao Liang was a little anxious. The situation in the ring was very clear. Meng Dong was no match for Nerov. In Zhao Yang's opinion, Fu Qingyao was also no match for Eva. As for whether Shen Tuhua could defeat Ivan, Zhao Liang did not have any hope. Even if Shen Tuhua won, Lai Feng Martial Arts School would lose 2 out of 3 matches. Chapter 73. Changfeng Martial Arts School. Qin Yunfei, the schoolmaster, sat in the chair behind his desk with a sullen face, looking at the 2 documents in his hand. 4 martial artists stood in front of him, all of whom were at the peak of the primary warlord level. These 4 people were a warlord team of the Changfeng Martial Arts School. They were teammates with Su Mao. Their names were Tai Shan, Zhao Shenji, Han Fengjiu, and Wu Ming. Among them, Tai Shan was a powerful warrior who used a shield and had the strongest defense. Zhao Shenji was a gunman who carried a long sniper rifle with him. It was very powerful and could even shoot rifle grenade. It was said that it could even shoot down fighter jets in the sky. Han Fengjiu's weapon was a long spear. He was also the captain of this team and was the strongest. Wu Ming's weapon was 2 daggers. He wandered in the dark and killed people without leaving a trace. The 4 of them and Su Mao were a team. Su Mao was the weakest among them, but he was the most senior and oldest. Su Mao was an advanced warlord, and these 4 people were only at the peak of the primary warlord level. However, Su Mao was no match for any of them. These 4 people were the elites of the Chongfeng martial arts school and the trump cards among the warlords. Each of them was a top master who could fight above their level. Outsiders called them the 4 gods of Chongfeng. However, the 4 gods of Chongfeng looked at Qin Yunfei with some fear, worried that the school master would suddenly explode. "Have you verified the 2 documents in your hands?" Tai Shan said. "Master, we have verified it. Su Mao's last place of disappearance was indeed in Yilan County. We retrieved it according to the satellite data. Finally, we found fragments of his mobile phone and clothes near the Blue River at the edge of Yilan County. We confirmed that it was the place where he died." Zhao Xinji added, "At the place where he died, we found traces of an armored vehicle according to the ruts on the road. According to the investigation, there was only one armored vehicle that left Yilan County that day. In fact, after the Yilan County tragedy, only one armored vehicle left Yilan County. We retrieved the surveillance videos of Peony City and Ice City and confirmed that the driver of this vehicle was Shirley from the Demon Hunter team of the Zephyr Martial Arts School." Han Fengju continued, "We also went to the supply station near Yilan and confirmed that Lin Zhen from the Demon Hunter squad left at the same time as the armored vehicle. In the end," Wu Ming continued, "after that, we secretly found the armored vehicle and found traces of blood in the cabin. It was proven to be Su Mao's blood." Qin Yunfei said with an unsightly expression, "Where did the demon hunters come from? Who was Lin Zhen? I think I've heard of it." "The team has a total of 5 people. Zhao Liang and Gao Yan left Yilan before the Yilan tragedy. The remaining 3 people stayed there. On the other hand, Lin Zhen is somewhat famous. Back then, he had a private custom-made 99% increase, which set the record for the private custom-made consumption of huaxia. It was all the rage for a while. Later, he repeatedly performed well. Although he is only a warrior, his strength is not inferior to that of a low-level warlord." "Then how did you analyze Su Mao's death?" Qin Yunfei asked. "According to various clues, Su Mao was probably killed by the combined efforts of 3 members of the Demon Hunter squad. We also found another person's blood sample at the place where Su Mao died. After testing, it was confirmed that this person was Yi Tiancheng from the Demon Hunter squad, who was also a beginner warlord. We came to this conclusion after simulating the situation at the scene." Tai Shan continued, "It should be like this. The 3 demon hunters may have taken a fancy to brother Su Mao's belongings and deliberately tricked him into the armored vehicle. Then, in the narrow space, the 3 of them launched a sneak attack. Under brother Su Mao's desperate counterattack, Yi Tiancheng was killed. However, brother Su Mao was inadvertently killed by them. Shirley and Lin Zhen killed brother Su Mao and sold all his belongings. We investigated Shirley's situation in the past few days and found that he suddenly became extravagant. It should be brother Su's money that he spent." Qin Yunfei didn't respond to their conversation. Instead, he picked up another document in his hand. Compared to Su Mao's death, he paid more attention to the contents of this document. "Chen Jingqiu is dead." After saying this, Qin Yunfei felt a wave of sadness in his heart. Although Su Mao was a senior warlord, his position in Qin Yunfei's heart was far inferior to Chen Jingqiu. Chen Jingqiu was the future dojo master candidate. Qin Yunfei was now an 8th-grade war god. He originally planned to focus on training Chen Jingqiu as he was a spirit reader. When Chen Jingqiu broke through to the star realm in the future, he would pass the position of dojo master to him. Therefore, he adopted a policy of letting Chen Jingqiu do things alone. However, he didn't expect this to happen. "Dojo master, we have carefully investigated this matter. We have determined the location and time of Chen Jingqiu's death. However, this matter is somewhat difficult to investigate because there were too many cars and people heading towards the oil city. We have mobilized many people to investigate one by one. However, until now there are still more than 100 suspicious cars and people. The list is in your hands. I'm afraid that it will take 10 days before the detailed investigation can be completed. Qin Yunfei glanced at the list in his hand and fiercely threw it at Tai Shan's face. What kind of list is this? There are more than 100 names. Do you want me to guess the riddles? The thin piece of paper in Qin Yunfei's hand was thrown with great force. It was like an iron plate. It actually hit Tai Shan's face and made him bleed. If we can't identify the key suspects, do you know what the consequences will be? Qin Yunfei had already revealed a murderous aura. Tai Shan's body trembled. He said in fear, "Dojo Master, it's not that there aren't any key suspects. However, there is no evidence. I can only make bold guesses." "Say it." "In my opinion, there are 3 key suspects. One is the young master of the Jinyu group. This person has a personal grudge with Qin Jingqiu. He went to the oil city that day and brought 2 bodyguards with him. However, we found that he spent that day in a nightclub. There is no time for the crime. However, we can't be sure that this person used a deceptive method." Continue. "The second person is a lone warrior called Lu Hua. This person also went deep into the wilderness. After returning, he was relatively generous. We are secretly investigating this matter." "What about the other person?" "The other person is Lin Jin." "Lin Jin again?" Qin Yunfei frowned. "Isn't Lin Jin just a warrior?" "Yes, but we found that Lin Jin's car left Bingqing the day before. However, there is no record of it passing through the oil city. However, at the place where Qin Jingqiu died, there is indeed the mark of another car. It can be confirmed that it is an off-road vehicle. It matches the model of Lin Jin. However, there are too many of these cars. We can't be sure if it is Lin Jin." Tai Shan hesitated and continued, "Moreover, we analyzed that Qin Jingqiu's strength is almost at the limit of the warrior stage. Lin Jin alone should not be his opponent." Qin Yunfei stood up. "I also think that there are very few people in the warrior stage who can be Qin Jingqiu's opponent. However, whether Lin Jin is the murderer or not, this person must not be let go." Tai Shan and the others were stunned. Did the dojo master want to kill the wrong person rather than let him go? At this time, Qin Yunfei turned on the computer on the table and logged into the forum. Then, he turned the screen and said to the others, "See? The Azure Sky Dojo is challenging people everywhere. Now, there are many people looking for Lin Jin. I originally planned to wait for Qin Jingqiu to come back to deal with the Russians in the Azure Sky Dojo. Now that he can't come back, we can't give this opportunity to Lai Feng. So, Lin Jin can't come back either. Do you understand?" The 4 of them looked at each other and nodded to show that they understood. The few of them quickly divided the work. Han Fengjiu and Wu Ming continued to investigate the other 2 key suspects. The other 2 high-level warlords, Zhao Shenji and Tai Shan, were responsible for looking for Lin Jin. Chapter 74. He called Lin Jin's cell phone, while Gao Yen called Lin Jin's home phone. Lin Jin's father, Lin Lie, answered the call and told Gao Yen that Lin Jin had gone out the day before and hadn't returned. While the 2 of them were at a loss, Shirley came over. "Are you looking for Lin Jin?" Shirley asked. Zhao Liang looked at Shirley cautiously. He didn't want to mention Lin Jin's situation to anyone, including Shirley. He didn't know if this team leader was still trustworthy. Shirley smiled bitterly and whispered in Zhao Liang's ear, "Old Zhao, Lin Jin is my brother. I won't harm him. If it wasn't for Lin Jin, I'm afraid I'll never be able to leave Elan. I also know that he's a gold-level spirit reader master. Do you understand what I'm saying?" Zhao Liang looked at Shirley in surprise and then smiled. If he could say this, it meant that Lin Jin still trusted him. Shirley continued, "Now we have to find Lin Jin. I have an idea. Our base city's satellite surveillance center can track the location of every warrior based on their cell phone. We can let them determine Lin Jin's location, and then we'll go look for him. Today, the Zephyr Martial Arts School must not lose face." Zhao Liang hesitated when he heard this. He didn't know if he should go look for Lin Jun. He believed that Lin Jun had a plan for this battle. He also thought that Lin Jun would come, but now it seemed that if Lin Jun didn't come in half an hour, it would be too late. At this time, Dongfang Jun was calling for Zhao Liang. Zhao Liang had no choice but to walk over. Dongfang Jun said, "Zhao Liang, do you know where Lin Jun is now? I just called Lin Jun's cell phone, but no one answered." Zhao Liang shook his head slightly. He did not know where Lin Jun was, but he knew that Lin Jun should be in Bing City Bay City. This was because he had spoken to Lin Jun yesterday. At this time, Lu Ming also said, "Old Zhao, why are you still hesitating at this time? If you can find Lin Jun, then hurry up and find him. As long as he can defeat the Russians, then no matter what request he has, as long as I, Lu Ming, can do it, I will agree to it." Hearing Lu Ming's words, Zhao Liang also made up his mind. He said to Lu Ming, "If you really want to find him, I suggest you use the satellite to locate Lin Jun's phone. But we can't let the people of the base city go there. After locating him, our demon hunter squad will go and find him. But I can't guarantee that Lin Jun will come." Good. Let's do that. How could I forget this method? You guys go to the surveillance center immediately and take my helicopter. I will ask people to look for him now. Lu Ming quickly made a phone call. Zhao Liang, Shirlei, and Gao Yen took Lu Ming's helicopter and went straight to the surveillance center of the base city. The moment they went out, Mengdong fell from the ring with a pale face. However, he was not seriously injured because he knew that he could not hold on anymore. He took the initiative to step down to avoid injury. Narav laughed. "The warriors of Lai Feng are just as so. You know, I am the weakest among the three of us. It seems that today we will trample China's #1 martial arts club under our feet." Fu Qingya could not stand it anymore. He pulled out his 2 swords and went up the ring. As soon as he went up, Eva also went up the ring with 2 swords. The speed of the 2 people was quite fast. There was almost no nonsense. The moment they came up, it was like Mars colliding with Earth. Eva was a level 9 warrior in the middle stage, while Fu Qingyao was a level 8 warrior at the peak. Fu Qingyao was also aware of this, so he chose to fight quickly. He wanted to make the most fierce attack in the shortest time possible and get rid of Eva as soon as possible. Although Eva was a woman, she was not impatient at all in the fight. She blocked left and right with her swords, and her steps were light. No matter how fiercely Fu Qingyao attacked, he could not really threaten her for the time being. The situation between the 2 people seemed to be in a stalemate for the time being, but all the warriors watching were not confident. They were worried that Fu Qingya's physical strength was not enough and might not be able to hold on in the later stage. Some people posted on the internet to ask Lin Jun to appear quickly, but more people were not optimistic about Lin Jun. They said that if Lin Jun could really turn the situation around, why didn't he appear at this time? Perhaps he knew that he had no hope of winning, so he hid. While the fight was still going on, Zhao Liang and the others had already arrived at the satellite monitoring center. They walked into the control room of the satellite monitoring center and saw a group of technicians positioning. Satellite positioning beginning. Mobile phone number confirmed. Area positioning within Bing City Base City. On the big screen, the satellite image showed that Lin Jun was in the Bay City. This made Zhao Liang and the others feel relieved. If Lin Jun was not in the Bay City, it would be really troublesome. Satellite positioning second part, determining the area. Determined to be Bing City Jiangbei District. Zhao Liang and the others looked at each other. Jiangbei District? Wasn't Jiangbei District where Lin Jun's house was? Could it be that Lin Jun did not leave home? Satellite positioning third part, determining the specific location. Determined to be Bing City Water Park. Jiangbei District of Bing City Bay City was a wealthy district. Most of the houses were villas, and there was also a water park. This was very rare in a bay city where land was expensive. Someone once suggested that the water park should be turned into a residential area, but almost everyone rejected the idea. This was because the water park was a rare recreation area, and the residents were determined not to demolish it. But it was the middle of winter and the water park was frozen. Almost no one went there. Why was Lin Jun there? Can you locate him more accurately? Shirley asked. The satellite positioning began. It determined that Lin Jun's location was near the waterfall in the water park. Let's go and take a look. They walked out of the satellite monitoring center and took the mayor's helicopter to the water park. The helicopter was very fast, and in less than 10 minutes, they arrived at the waterfall in the water park. But there was no space for the helicopter to land there. It landed on a small square 300 meters away from the waterfall. Zhao Liang and the others got off the plane and ran all the way to the waterfall. Time was running out. On the stage, Fu Qingyao had already switched from attacking to defending. The signs of her physical exhaustion were extremely obvious. As for Eva, she had switched from defending to attacking, and had started a fierce counterattack. It was estimated that the victor would be decided very soon. The sound of water splashing could be heard in front of them. The waterfall was built from the Songhua River. It was the source of all the water in the water park, and it was also the only place that was not frozen. But arriving here, the few of them did not see Lin Jun's shadow. Call him. Zhao Liang quickly took out his phone and dialed. The call went through quickly, and they even heard Lin Jun's phone ringing. The phone is here. Gao Yin shouted. The few of them saw a lonely mobile phone on a bench at the side, which was emitting a series of ringtones. This is Lin Jun's phone, but where is he? Why did he throw his phone on the bench? They looked around and were a little dumbfounded. The surroundings were empty. There was no one in the water park at this time of the year. Even if there were some ice skaters, they were in the frozen areas of the artificial lake in the distance. The ice at the waterfall was not solid, so no one came here to ice skate. Only the waterfall in front of them was falling. They did not know where Lin Jun was. This is really strange. Where is Lin Jun? Chapter 75. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Just as they were at their wits' end, they suddenly heard footsteps in the distance. The footsteps were extremely fast. Gao Yen was the first to get scared. This person is so fast. Oh my god! He's flying. He's a telekinesis master. Let's run. Zhao Liang and Shirley glanced at each other and patted Gao Yen on the shoulder. Old Gao, don't worry. The person coming is Lin Jun. This person was Lin Jun. After he had killed Chen Jingqiu, Lin Jun had returned to the base city with the planet core. He hadn't gone home at that time. Instead, he had gone to the water park. I received a handsome reward for killing Chen Jingqiu, but there was also a risk. Now that Chen Jingqiu is dead, the people of Chongfeng will definitely not let this matter rest. Although my actions are relatively secretive, it's impossible to eliminate all traces of my actions. The people of Chongfeng might come at any time. That's why I can't go home now. I have to become more powerful in the shortest time possible. I have to be strong enough to protect myself. The battle with Chen Jingqiu had also made Lin Jun fully aware of his shortcomings. Although there were several warlord stage opponents among the opponents he had defeated in the past, none of them were elite experts. They were all relatively weak among those of the same level. If it weren't for his telekinesis, Lin Jun wouldn't have been able to defeat a peak warrior like Chen Jingqiu. However, his talent wasn't outstanding, so it would be very difficult for him to improve his strength in a short time. Sitting on a chair in the water park, Lin Jun gently rubbed the planet core. I currently have 2 ways to improve my strength. The first way is to enter the warlord stage. I still need to take 2 steps to enter the warlord stage. I'll use the dark energy stone to greatly increase my mental strength. Then, I'll take the Qi sensing auxiliary elixir to expand my dantian and circulate my vital energy. Then, I'll be able to enter the warlord stage. the dark energy stone can greatly increase my strength. Before I become a warlord, I will have strength that surpasses that of an ordinary beginner warlord. With such a solid foundation, the circulation of my vital energy will be very smooth. Once I enter the warlord stage, I may be able to directly break through the limit of a level 1 warlord and advance to level 2. However, it's not ideal to be promoted to a warlord immediately because I still have to go to the martial arts club and deal with a few Russians from the Azure Sky Martial Arts Club. Once I become a warlord, I won't be qualified to participate in the battle, so I have to participate as a warrior. The second way to increase my strength is through the planet core in my hand. As far as I know, the planet core has 3 uses. One is to cultivate the universal gravitational force, and the other is to master the profound of energy. In addition to these 2, there is also a very magical use, which is to condense dark stars. In terms of realms, whether it was a warrior, a general, or a god of war, a martial artist was collectively referred to as the 3rd stage of the mortal realm. In other words, the 3rd stage of the mortal realm was only the realm of mortals. They would still experience life, old age, sickness, and death. Only when a martial artist reached the peak of the god of war and condensed a planet core in his dantian would he be considered to have truly entered the star realm. He would have a long lifespan and the ability to fly. In the eyes of mortals, he would be as omnipotent as a god. After condensing a planet core, a star realm martial artist could advance to the comet stage, which was called the 3rd stage of the star realm. After that, the satellite stage, the planet stage, and the star stage were called the 3rd stage of the eternal realm. To put it bluntly, these were the evolution processes of the Dantean universe. However, regardless of whether one was in the star realm or the eternal realm, one could only have 1 star in their body. The power of the Dantean universe determined the martial artist's power. 1 star was 1 part of the martial artist's power, and each martial artist's power was 1 part. However, there was a legend in the galaxy that if a martial artist could obtain a planet core when he first comprehended the Dantean chi, then he would be able to condense a dark star in his Dantean. The dark star was hidden in the darkness of a martial artist's Dantean universe. It was the 2nd source of a martial artist's power, and it had countless other magical uses. However, this was only a legend. Lin Zhen had lived for 1,000 years in his previous life, but he had never seen a martial artist with a dark star. Of course, this could also be because he was weak in his previous life, and there were no experts among the people he knew. In any case, since he had obtained a planet core today, Lin Zhen had to try condensing a dark star no matter what. However, Lin Zhen did not meet the requirements to condense a dark star for the time being. This was because condensing a dark star required a martial artist to first reach the warlord realm. In other words, the martial artist had to have hidden strength and the Dantian chi to condense a dark star. Therefore, the only thing Lin Zhen could do now was try to cultivate the gravity element or the lightning element. He had to choose one of the 2. As for what to choose, Lin Zhen had already prepared for it. He raised his hand and took out some of the things he had prepared from his space ring. He had bought these things as soon as he returned to the base city, just for this occasion. Metal wires. Most of the things Lin Zhen took out were metal wires. In addition to the metal wires, there was also a pile of batteries. Cultivating the gravity element is a very difficult process. If I want to increase my strength in a short period of time, the only way is to use the lightning element. The lightning element in the planet core will not come out if it is not guided. It contains the basic state of lightning, which is divided into 3 parts: ions, photons, and atoms. If I guide too much of it at once, I'm afraid I will electrocute myself. The best way is to use a wire to guide it out bit by bit. Lin Zhen wrapped one end of the metal wire around the batteries. He held it in one hand and held the other end of the metal wire. After taking a deep breath and feeling that his body was in the best condition, He gently placed it on the meteorite in the planet core. Pa pa pa. When the positive and negative electrodes came into contact, an electric current was generated. In the night sky, a blue electric arc appeared around Lin Zhen's body. Lin Zhen's whole body trembled. An electric current flowed through his body. He had never experienced such a numb feeling before, and he almost screamed out loud. Cultivating the lightning element is simply not something a human can do. If it were any other person, they would have abandoned the metal wire immediately. However, Lin Zhen did not do so. At this moment, his thoughts became clearer. He even remembered that the reason Chen Jingqiu was able to rise to power in his previous life was because of his saber skills. Fast. It was faster than anyone could imagine. Now that he thought about it, Chen Jingqiu must have also grasped the mysteries of the lightning element. Since he could do it, how could he be any weaker? Perhaps the Lin Zhen of his previous life could not do it. But this time, Lin Zhen would not lose to anyone. His hair stood on end at the first moment, and the muscles in his body twitched involuntarily. His eyeballs rolled up, revealing the whites of his eyes. Lin Zhen endured the pain of fainting and allowed his body to adapt to the power of the lightning element. I've only used a metal wire that can withstand the smallest voltage. If I can't even withstand this little bit of electricity, what's the point of talking about climbing to the peak? I'll just obediently go home. Si. The lightning element wreaked havoc in Lin Zhen's body. Almost all of his strength was used to resist the electric current. He did not have the strength to comprehend the lightning element at all. Endure. Endure. Only by enduring what ordinary people cannot endure can one rise to the top. The fragrance of barbecued meat filled the air in the night. Lin Zhen felt as though his hands were no longer his own. His entire body trembled uncontrollably. A minute passed, and Lin Zhen persevered. 3 minutes passed, and Lin Zhen's pain multiplied. 5 minutes passed, and the pain had almost reached its peak. How many times did he want to let go? But with his strong willpower, he persevered. 10 minutes passed, and Lin Zhen was already numb to the pain. 30 minutes later, half an hour had passed. When the moon was high in the sky, Lin Zhen's mind finally became a little clearer in the cold winter night, except for the fact that his body was still trembling uncontrollably. This process only lasted for half an hour, but to Lin Zhen, it felt as though 100 years had passed. Even the experience of 1,000 years in his previous life was not as painful as this. Fortunately, he persevered. He had already somewhat adapted to the flow of the lightning element in his body. It's all thanks to my good physique in this life. I've finally managed to endure this 30-minute. His dark hands gripped the metal wire tightly as he felt the lightning element coursing through his body. The cold moonlight shone down from the sky, and a faint silver glow fell on Lin Zhen's body, making him feel a little more comfortable. And, in that instant, Lin Zhen felt it. He felt it. He felt that the lightning element was like a surging river. Just like a river in the real world, every drop of water was like a small golden ball of light. This ball of light was so fast, but Lin Zhen could clearly feel its existence. Chapter 76. According to the cultivation system, there were 3 types of lightning element. The first type was the lightning ion, which represented the speed of lightning. The second type was the lightning photon, which represented the power and destructive power of lightning. The third type was the lightning atom, which was the combination of lightning photon and ion. It was the most profound meaning of lightning. If one couldn't grasp the power of ion and photon, they wouldn't be able to comprehend the atom. In the universe, light and electricity were the fastest, traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second. If an object exceeded this speed, it would cause the reversal of time and space. Under normal circumstances, this would never happen. Therefore, the lightning ion was the limit of speed. If a martial artist grasped the profound meaning of the lightning ion and used it in actual combat, his speed would at least double. After all, even if you grasped the ion, you would still have to use your body to swing your fists and weapons. You would still have to abide by the laws of physics. Lin Jun didn't expect things to go so smoothly. After half an hour of hellish perseverance, he actually managed to feel the lightning ion. Great, great. I've seen some experts in the universe who have grasped the power of the element. All of them were overbearing and were heroes. Among them, the power of lightning is the most difficult to grasp and control. This is because the core of a planet with the power of lightning is extremely difficult to find. This time, the Leo meteor shower on Earth was caused by the destruction of a planet. This planet must have been ravaged by lightning to form such a core. In the end, it ended up benefiting me. As long as I can grasp the power of the lightning ion, my strength would almost double. At that time, I would have the capital to fight against those elite martial artists. Lin Jun didn't let his guard down. Instead, he used his heart to feel the movement of the lightning ion in his body. Feeling it didn't mean that he had grasped it. If he wanted to grasp it, Lin Jun estimated that he would have to let the lightning exist in his body for at least 2 hours. To put it simply, his body would have to be strengthened by the lightning ion once. After strengthening, his speed would be greatly increased. An hour passed, and the lightning was still moving in his body. Lin Jun didn't feel the resonance of the lightning ion. Instead, his numb body gradually recovered, and the second round of pain began. If the first pain made Lin Jun feel like hell, then the second pain was like 18 levels of hell. The first pain could only be considered to be within the first 5 levels. His eyelids twitched continuously. Lin Jun clenched his teeth so hard that they bled. He could only look up at the stars in the night sky to distract himself. My body is not mine. I'm not the one who's in pain. It's someone else, someone else. After repeating this over and over 1,000 times, the second wave of pain finally passed. 2 hours later, Lin Jun felt that the lightning ions in his body seemed to have become more active. However, there was still no resonance. No, the electric current in my body is still not strong enough. I need to increase it further. Lin Jun had psychic power, so he didn't need to move. Another metal wire was attached to the planet's core. After being tortured twice, Lin Jun, who had gradually adapted to the power of thunder and lightning, once again entered hell. At this time, he realized that hell actually had 19 layers. After working hard for nearly an hour, Lin Jun finally adapted to the power. However, he still couldn't make the lightning ions resonate with him. Helpless, Lin Jun changed the battery again and moved his roasted limbs to prevent them from necrosis. Then, he used 3 more metal wires. However, Lin Jun still underestimated the difficulty of controlling the lightning ions. This time, he was tortured for an hour, but the lightning ions still couldn't resonate. I brought a total of 5 metal wires. Actually, 4 is already the limit that a human body can endure. I estimate that I can only hold on to 4 wires at most. Lin Jun gritted his teeth and placed the 4th metal wire. Even with his tenacious nerves, there were a few times when he really wanted to give up. The pain from the 4 metal wires was no longer just physical. It was a pain that touched his soul. So 4 wires really is the limit of a human. This pain pierces my soul. My soul is about to be torn apart. When the pain pierced his soul, Lin Jun originally had the thought of giving up. However, he was surprised to find that his soul was abnormally strong. Is it because I was reborn? My soul strength is actually so strong. I can actually endure this pain so easily. I understand now. Maybe it's because my soul passed through a black hole and was reborn once. That's why it's so strong and tenacious. I've even experienced the most terrifying place in the universe, the black hole. This pain is naturally nothing. Lin Jun recalled the moment his soul passed through a black hole. That kind of pain was the greatest pain. Only now did Lin Jun realize that he had such a strong soul. No wonder he could cultivate his telekinesis so quickly. Telekinesis originated from the power of the soul. If that was the case, he had a chance to reach the pinnacle of telekinesis. In a happy mood, Lin Zhen's pain tolerance increased. With the help of his soul, this pain seemed to be nothing. Since I have such a strong soul, why don't I try the 5 metal wires? Maybe I can really resonate with the lightning ions. Lin Zhen was a man of action. If he wanted to do something, he would do it. After deciding, his spiritual force immediately brought the 5th metal wire and once again attached it to the planet's core. If the previous electric current was a small stream, then the electric current was a river. When the electric current entered, the power of the lightning ions became more and more active. Lin Zhen relied on his powerful soul strength to withstand this wave. He finally felt the lightning ions and his body begin to resonate. Only when the elemental power resonates can it exist in your body and be used by you. Countless lightning particles were immersed in every corner of Lin Zhen's body. Every bone, every internal organ, every muscle, every drop of blood, every strand of hair, and even every cell in his body. Bathed in the lightning ions, Lin Zhen's body felt unprecedentedly comfortable. He could even feel his body becoming stronger. This is great. No wonder it's said that the power of lightning is the most difficult power to control. If I didn't have an abnormally strong soul, I'm afraid my efforts today would have been useless. I've finally grasped it. I've finally felt the existence of the lightning ions. The lightning ions wandered all over Lin Zhen's body. They no longer caused any damage to Lin Zhen's body. Lin Zhen threw away the 5 metal wires and directly pinched the planet's core. The lightning ions inside were like a trickle, nourishing Lin Zhen's body. This feeling was like a traveler in a barren desert who had encountered an oasis. In almost an instant, Lin Zhen's limbs and bones, every meridian, every muscle, every bone, had the lightning ions travel through them thousands of times. Speed. This is the speed of the ions. By chance, I've finally grasped this power. I wonder what kind of changes will occur if I use this power on my spear skills? Lin Zhen stood up and discovered that the sky was about to brighten. Today is the day the Azure Sky Dojo challenges Gale. However, I can't go back yet. I have to use the power of the lightning ions in actual combat and create a cultivation method that belongs to me alone. Although the 9-layered spear river is strong enough, it's still a martial skill without a soul. Anyone can learn it. Since I have such power, I naturally have to innovate and improve this martial skill. Lin Zhen took out the black dragon spear from the interspatial ring. He held the spear shaft with both hands and exerted a little force. An obscure electric arc jumped under his palm, making him feel full of strength. And there's also the phone. My phone can't be placed in the interspatial ring. It's a different space and can't receive signals from Earth. It's better to leave it here. Lin Zhen threw the phone on the chair and threw the battery wires and other things to the side. He returned to the front of the waterfall. If I want to recultivate the 9-layered spear river, I have to start from the first move, which is Gale. Lin Zhen ignored the fragile ice in front of the waterfall and stepped onto it. Gotcha! The ice that wasn't completely frozen shattered. Just the spear in Lin Zhen's hand alone weighed 150 kilograms. The ice couldn't withstand it. Lin Zhen fell into the waist-deep water, but he didn't care at all. The waterfall in front of him was his imaginary enemy. Lin Zhen shouted as he tightly gripped the spear shaft with both his hands. Ha! The tip of the spear shook and thousands of peach blossoms bloomed. A gale rolled up on the water's surface. Lightning ions. Chapter 77. With the support of lightning ions, Lin Zhen could feel that this spear was different. There was no other reason other than its speed. Shwa! A gust of wind passed by, and countless spear lights hit the waterfall like a rain of banana leaves. However, the time taken to make a move had been shortened by more than a third. What a fast spear technique! This is a true spear technique. As the saying goes, all techniques can be broken, and only speed can't be broken. Lin Zhen used his spear, and his heart surged. His next move was logical, and he displayed the first style of the 9 heavy spear river. A group of spear shadows enveloped Lin Zhen, and stirred up layers of waves in the pond. If someone were to use a camera to record this scene, they would see such a scene. Lin Zhen raised his hand, and a group of spear shadows burst out. With a rumble, it rushed over and shattered the waterfall in front of him. Then, the water above fell down, but it was impossible to see how Lin Zhen made his move. One could only feel a rumble. Perhaps only by using a high magnification camera that was at least 36 times slower than normal would one be able to see Lin Zhen's arm trembling as if he was suffering from a stroke. Then, one would see large amounts of spear light rolling about, and a strong gust of wind sweeping across, destroying everything in its path. Until the wee hours of the morning, Lin Zhen was able to perfectly fuse lightning ions and gale spear technique, making it his own unique move. Next, I will practice the second style of the 9 heavy spear river, rainstorm. Under this waterfall, the water droplets are like rain, and it is the best place to practice rainstorm. However, my spear technique can no longer be called 9 heavy spear river. With the change of lightning ions, this spear technique will have to be renamed. Since it is supported by thunder and lightning, and winds with speed, then this spear technique will be called rushing thunder 9 transformations. Wind and rain as the form, thunder and lightning as the soul, watch my rainstorm. Lin Zhen's spear rolled, and he began to practice the second style of the spear technique under the waterfall. With the lightning ion's speed, Lin Zhen had to remaster his spear technique. Only then would he be able to wield it as if it was his own arm. Only then would it be useful in a real battle. By the time Lin Zhen was practicing the second layer of rainstorm, it was already morning. Although there were not many people in the water park during the winter, there were still people who came for their morning exercises. When the people in charge of the water park came to the waterfall area to open the gate, they heard the commotion inside. The old man guarding the park plucked up his courage and came over to take a look. He immediately went back and locked the gates of this half of the park. As he walked, he muttered, "These martial artists are really something. They have nowhere to vent their energy. Why don't they go to the martial arts center to train? I have to close the door and don't let ordinary people in. If I hurt someone, master martial artist will leave. Then, my old bones won't even have a place to earn a living." Because of the caution of the old man guarding the park, the gates of this half of the park were closed. This not only gave Lin Zhen a convenient space to train in, but also made it convenient for people to enter. In this way, Lin Zhen practiced from morning to morning. It was only until 8 o'clock that he finally mastered the second layer of rainstorm without anyone disturbing him. The rainstorm was faster than the hurricane spear technique. When he brandished it, the wind and clouds would roll, and lightning would flash. It was so fast that even Lin Zhen himself was surprised. If it wasn't for the fact that this spear technique came from him, he wouldn't have believed that it could be used by a warrior. During this time, Lin Zhen even heard his phone ring, but he didn't have any thoughts of picking it up. What he wanted to do the most right now was to practice the third layer of the waterfall spear technique in one go. This was the waterfall, and it was the best place to train. Even if he could comprehend the waterfall spear technique a little, Lin Zhen's strength would be greatly improved. But this time, Lin Zhen encountered some difficulties. The 2 layers of the hurricane spear technique had something in common. In addition, he had already comprehended them before. Even with the support of the lightning ions, Lin Zhen wouldn't find it difficult to train in them. But the waterfall spear technique was different. The waterfall spear technique focused on a powerful strike, like the Milky Way descending from the sky, defeating the opponent in one fell swoop. When Lin Zhen learned the 9-layer spear river in his previous life, he only learned the first layer. He didn't learn the second or third layer. Now that he had to start from scratch, it was naturally difficult. After struggling in the water for a while, he still couldn't find the main point. Waterfall. Descending from the sky, it focuses on defeating the opponent with a thunderous force. First, it should be indomitable. Even if there are difficulties and obstacles in front of me, they can't stop me in the slightest. It should be this feeling to exert force. The angle of the spear body should be like this. My lightning ions should increase the speed, so it should be like this. But why do I always feel that something is wrong? I can't find the perfect way to exert force. I've already seen everything about the waterfall technique. What's the problem? Lin Zhen was gesticulating in the water. He didn't know how much time had passed. Suddenly, he heard laughter coming from the side. Ah, I'm dying of laughter. There's actually such a stupid guy who came to this ice and snow pool to practice martial arts alone. You're like a drowned rat, and you can't even master a single move. To think that the dojo master thinks highly of you. But with a trash like you, even if he let you go back to Gale, what can you do? Hearing this mocking laughter, Lin Zhen woke up from his martial arts world and turned around to take a look. He saw a tall martial artist standing on the shore. His height wasn't inferior to that Russian Narev. He was abnormally tall and sturdy. In one hand, he held a huge metal shield that was 7 meters tall, and in the other hand, he held a broadsword that looked like a wooden board. Moreover, this person was wearing a combat uniform. This combat uniform was the latest model from the Ministry of Science and Technology. It looked light, but its defense was abnormally shocking. Bullets couldn't penetrate it, and swords couldn't hurt it. There was also the symbol of Changfeng Dojo embroidered on his chest, indicating his identity. Lin Zhen took a closer look. He seemed to have some impression of this person. He was one of the 4 gods of Changfeng. He couldn't remember his specific name. These 4 people were very famous in the warlord stage. Although their realms weren't high, their strength was ridiculously high. Each of them had countless experience fighting beyond their realms. People of Changfeng, what are you doing here? Lin Zhen asked deliberately. Kid, keep pretending. I don't believe that you don't know why I'm here. Tell me, was Brother Su Mao killed by you demon hunters? Lin Zhen stood in the water and slowly walked to the shore. I don't know who Su Mao is, but I've killed many people. Which martial artist doesn't kill? If he dies, he has a reason to die. You're quite talkative. Let me ask you again. What's the matter with our dojo's Qin Jingqiu? Why did you kill him? Who's your accomplice? How many people did it together? Lin Zhen sneered. It seemed that the other party only suspected him and didn't have any evidence to prove that he did it. This made things easier. Nonsense. The person you're talking about has nothing to do with me. I'm not here to listen to you blabber. I still have things to do, so I won't accompany you. Lin Zhen went ashore and was about to take his phone and leave. Taishan laughed. Kid, I think you still don't understand the situation. You're going to the Zephyr Dojo, right? I can tell you responsibly that you won't have the chance to return to the Zephyr Dojo. Taishan looked around and nodded. The scenery here is good. It seems that you've realized that your time is coming. You even chose such a beautiful place to bury yourself. Then I can only fulfill your wish and let this place be your burial ground. Can you do it? Lin Zhen sneered. Taishan's face turned cold. Then watch carefully. I'll cut you into pieces with one slash. As he spoke, he roared and raised his sword and shield. He made a bold and powerful appearance. No matter who saw him like this, they would all be attracted to him. But at this moment, Lin Zhen suddenly turned around, raised his hand and shot. This set of movements was done in one go. Only the sound of metal colliding could be heard in the air. Lin Zhen's gun drew a beautiful arc in the air. A yellow sniper rifle bullet fell to the ground. He actually used the gun in his hand to shoot down a sniper rifle bullet. What kind of speed was this?